What's good, Toronto Raptor fans? This was not the start to the NBA Cup that the Toronto Raptors were looking for. Undermanned, they go into Milwaukee, the 14th best team in the East, hosting the 15th best team in the East. And if you thought, looking at this score, where neither team broke 100 points, you're like, man, this must have been a defensive masterclass. This must have been an old school battle. This might have been the bad boy Pistons versus the 90s Knicks. Well, you're sorely mistaken. This was not a defensive masterclass. This was an offensive disaster class. And the Toronto Raptors got a career high from Gradey Dick. This is, I believe, the fourth time this season that he has set a new career high. He ran out of gas late. Gradey was awesome in the first half. Unfortunately, in the second half, he ran out of gas. He was 2 of 6 in the third quarter from the field. He was 1 of 7 in the fourth quarter from the field. And so it sort of collapsed. And what was looking like what could have been a 45 to 50 point game turns into a 32-point game. Nevertheless, it's baby steps. He was by far the Raptors' best player tonight. And it had nothing to do with really the points. It's just how he was playing and overall the pressure that he consistently put on the Bucks defense. Mel saying a turnover masterclass. Turnovers were a huge issue for Toronto tonight. We're going to break down 22 different plays in our film breakdown. And I promise you, most of them are going to be negative. A few of them are going to be positive, including a huge dunk for Bruno Fernando. Huge. On Giannis Antetokounmpo, a poster. That was cool. That was really cool. We can't catch a break, eh? The call-in link is open. In the previous live, I talked about how the Raptors, now without Immanual Quickley, who has been, he's going to be reevaluated in a week, but we should miss about a month. We're probably looking at a month without Immanual Quickley. We're probably looking at a month without Scottie Barnes, or at least 3 more weeks without Scottie Barnes. And we are looking at a team that is really struggling to hold water. And we're seeing a team that's kind of losing their focus defensively, offensively, losing their principles, holding on to the basketball a lot. This really isn't the team we saw earlier in the season. It's a team that really is just abandoning the principles right now, and it is not for the betterment. And the Milwaukee Bucks were terrible. They really were. Brook Lopez, clank, 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 clank. Bobby Portis, bad decisions all around. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. The Raptors made so many mistakes, from off-ball defensive breakdowns to failing to box out guys when they're going at the offensive glass. It was just a nightmare of a game. And if you're a fan of like pure hoops, if you're a fan of good, beautiful basketball, this was not the game for you. It was ridiculous. So the call-in show will largely be for the trade machine. We'll ship anybody anywhere. I don't care. At this point, there's a lot of teams that are decimated by injuries. Hey, you want Bruno Fernando? He played great tonight. Okay, let's take a look at who did what, when. Okay, so the Raptors managed to keep this somewhat close. I would say they tied it up to about 55-55 in the third quarter behind a huge surge of threes. There was a 3 by RJ Barrett, a step back 3 for no reason whatsoever. Just decided to step back 3 at the corner. Then there was a Gradey 3. Then there was an Ochai 3 on Gradey's pass, and then it was like, okay, bam, we're in a game, 55-55. From that point on, the Raptors scored 30 points. And it was really, really it felt like there was a lid on the basket. Everything was short. And again, I mentioned it earlier. You grind yourself out defensively this way, right? Here you go. There's your 54-54. I apologize. Not 55-55, 54-54 at the 9-minute mark of the third quarter. And then there was just a run, right? AJ Green makes a 28-foot 3-pointer. Then there was AJ Green making a 26-foot 3-pointer. The Bucks took a ton of threes tonight, man. And it's not like they shot them well. It's just the Raptors really couldn't buy a 2 to save their lives. Let's take a look at the team stats for a second here before we move on to the box score. The Raptors shoot a disastrous 35%, 34.9% from the field on 30 for 86. Okay. The Bucks are not much better at 38 for 94, but they do get a lot more possessions. The Raptors do get to the line a little bit more, 16 for 20 from the line, so no real huge free throw issues here. The Bucks missed 5 free throws, the Raptors missed 4, but the Raptors got a lot more free throws. The Raptors out-rebounded the Bucks. They had more defensive rebounds. They had more offensive rebounds. Didn't matter. They had 20 assists. Do you remember when we were making that streak of 30 plus assists every single night? Well, there was a lot of potential assists tonight. RJ Barrett got into the paint and he found open shooters, but it was very stagnant. It was very stagnant tonight. The offense felt disgustingly stagnant. The Bucks had 16 steals and 9 blocks. A lot of them, I'm sure, from Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Raptors had 22 points and conceded 28 points off those 22 turnovers. And in terms of fast break points, the Bucks won. In terms of paint points, the Bucks won. In terms of fouls, they fouled more. And the largest lead for the Bucks was 21, and the Raptors cut it down to 14 to end the game. Congratulations. In terms of the box score, I don't know who was double digits for the Raptors. There were 3 players in double digits. Chris Boucher off the bench, who went 5 for 12, and he had some good moments and some really bad moments, but he had 12 points. And Jakob Poeltl with 13 points. 13 points for Jakob Poeltl. I don't think he was great tonight, but he had 3 steals, 2 blocks, 8 rebounds. If you didn't watch this game, you probably thought Jakob Poeltl had a great game. I thought he had a kind of meh game, but you got to argue. You can't argue with the fact that in a game where you lose by 14, he was net 0. And Davion Mitchell was a net positive 1 somehow, which really just lends into why you shouldn't pay attention to that stat, because I thought he was awful. In 33 minutes, he managed to score 1 point. 1 point. He took 2 shots. That 1 point was off a free throw. 8 assists, tons of defensive breakdowns, tons of defensive mistakes, 3 turnovers. RJ Barrett had 5 turnovers, and what felt like probably 10 times that he got blocked at the basket. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't 10 blocks against him, but it was a lot. He shot 3 for 14, 1 for 5 from 3, and this was by far, I want to say this is by far the worst RJ Barrett game we have seen in a Raptor jersey. And this follows a lot of really bad RJ Barrett games. So what was once looking very positive in those first 3-4 games when he came back, and people like Rue were trying to tell us that we should build the whole thing around RJ Barrett. I hope you can kind of see why some of us were so like against that and found that so funny. And it's really not a commentary on RJ Barrett, having a terrible game. He had an awful game. Ochai Agbaji, he missed a lot of shots. He went 3 for 8, which is weird because it felt like he missed more shots than that. He managed to still shoot 50% from 3. He missed a lot of makeable shots. He missed a couple of open threes as well. And it's so weird, to see him go 3 for 8, because you think like every time he's going to take a shot, you think he's going to make the shot, right? He had 8 points tonight. He drew the assignment of guarding Giannis as his primary defender, and I think he did a pretty good job. Giannis came into this game leading the league in scoring, and he only got 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists. That feels like a typo. That really does. That feels like a typo. 23 is that a mistake? 4 rebounds? What? Is this a mistake? I got to refresh this. 4 rebounds. I don't think I've ever seen Giannis have this kind of stat line in my life. So, I mean, good job, Raptors. I mean, Giannis was not super impactful tonight. He got to the line. He missed a bunch. And there was a hilarious quote by Alvin Williams. He said, God said, I can't give you everything, right? So as it pertains to free throws. I don't think Brook Lopez had a great game either. He was clanking threes, open threes. The Raptors left him open for a lot, and he was hitting back rim, side rim. I think he airballed one. It was bad. Okay. And yeah, I mean, they lose Rollins in the 3rd quarter, I think, for an injury. Gary Trent Jr., revenge game, 0 points, 6 minutes, 0 points. He's in the doghouse, and they are so injured right now. Chris Middleton is not playing. Damian Lillard is out. Rollins was out. And Gary Trent Jr. got 6 minutes tonight. He's in the doghouse, man. So again, just this game feels like a lot of vindication for a lot of past takes for me personally. I'm not trying to gloat. Definitely not gloating. Believe me, I suffered tremendously through this game. Sparkling with a $4 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, seriously. Thank you. Jack saying Trent was healthy. What the F? JLA Media saying, I miss Norm. You and me both, pal. You and me both. Okay, let's take a look at the plays. And Prepare yourself, man. I'm going to swear so much during this because this was next level frustrating. No, I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear. Yeah, I'm probably going to swear. Am I going to swear? Yeah, I'm probably going to swear. Okay. Get prepared. Get prepared. There's just a lot of really bad basketball that's coming your way. Uh, First of all, if you're not following us on Pensar Basketball X, you should be. Like, there's a lot of different content on that. Like, it's pretty much its own thing, man. And I've really, really enjoyed doing this. Okay, first off, a charge. This was awesome, right? This took a lot of guts from Gradey Dick, right? You see Giannis coming downhill, and this is how you knew Gradey was going to have one of those games, right? Look at the defensive awareness to see Giannis coming downhill and just planting his feet and taking that charge. So this game started on a good note. You had 0 points on the board at that point, and Gradey, you got to appreciate, not a good defender by anyone's imagination. Now, this was a funny one, and I don't think you caught this. Look at Darko Rajakovic playing defense. You think Darko Rajakovic knows that his team is the 30th ranked defense in the league? Yep. So look at this. Little sneaky. Trying to give this video a like if you appreciate Darko Rajakovic, man. Darko for Defensive Player of the Year. He won't win Coach of the Year at this rate, but he might win Defensive Player of the Year. Love it. Okay, just trying to bother the shooters, field division a little bit. Appreciate that, man. Not too many coaches are willing to do stuff like that. Okay, so I mean, it's worth noting there's a $500,000 pay for any player on the winning team of the NBA Cup. And I got bad news for you. The Raptors are not winning the NBA Cup at this point. But you got to love how smooth Gradey was on that shot. I'll tell you, like if he doesn't run out of gas, he's probably scoring 50 in this game. It's just the problem is everything he does is so hard, right now, because he doesn't have it's not easy for him. Like there's nobody to make it easy. And look at that. Look at the hand-eye coordination. Look at the dexterity. Look at the timing. Look at the skill that is required to do that over a pretty good interior defense. Now, this is back-to-back Jamison Battle and RJ Barrett blowing dunks. And this is RJ getting swatted. Jamison Battle would blow 2 dunks in this game. I need to talk to Lane about this. This was not good. So, I mean, you could say he got blocked from behind, but the second, the one that he blows in the fourth quarter, that was 100% open, and he just left it. Okay, get ready for some turnovers. If you like good basketball, you might want to close your eyes. Okay, so Jamal Shed gets on the ground, digs this from Bobby Portis, and here's RJ Barrett dribbling into traffic, and DeLon Wright, one of my favorite Raptors of all time, just taking it away, and here's another one from RJ Barrett. And I really genuinely, it's one thing to have 5 turnovers like RJ did. It's another thing to have 5 turnovers. And I feel like you had 20 turnovers. Okay. Is this an RJ? No, I apologize. This is a Jamal Shed turnover. We're going to look at some more RJ turnovers, but this was back-to-back possessions. And again, you're kind of in it. 25-30, you're close, right? You're like, yeah, this game could go either way. There were a couple of points in this game where you felt like the Raptors might have a chance. No. The turnovers really did them in. It was just like the worst turnovers at the worst time. Now look at this beautiful play by Gradey. I think this is just incredible because, this is Jackson. He's a good defender, and Brook Lopez historically has been a very good defender. I haven't looked at his percentages this year. But look at this beautiful. And this is his spot, man. Like if you are an opposing coach, this is the place where you just get terrified if Gradey goes, because it's like every game he's getting to that spot and he is launching it. And it's butter. That's his spot. That's great. And it's really hard. Okay, RJ Barrett. He was very upset about this. Like he's gonna wait and he's gonna complain a lot. But what are you doing? You can't just throw your body into a defender. Like, was that a foul? Was it a foul? Like, I would love to know. Principle of verticality says maybe if you're James Harden or prime LeBron James, you're going to get this call, right? But this is why I said you're not LeBron James. You're not LeBron James. You got to go to the DeMar DeRozan package, man. And this is another one, right? Like, this is just blocked, right? Like you're making it so easy. You're not You're not an above the rim finisher. You're driving into congestion on two incredible defenders. Now, look, we watched Scottie in his second year abuse Giannis and Brook to like 20 points or 19 points in the fourth quarter. But Scottie's just huge, man. Scottie can bump these guys. Scottie can play with these guys, you know? And RJ is strong, but he's still a below the rim athlete. He doesn't have that reach and he doesn't have the vertical to do that. This was an and one, but this was a beautiful play by Gradey, right? And it's just like Gradey had so many of these absolutely awesome. Like, is that Gradey Dick or Allen Iverson? I can't tell, but that was awesome. And he goes to the line for another one. He was relentless attacking downhill in this game. All right, so there's good and there's bad. This is bad. Okay, so we're going with the compliment sandwich here. Now watch this, and I'm going to slow this down and just look at how absolutely cheeks this offense is. So we're 16 seconds into the shot clock. I didn't show the entire play because I didn't want to get copyrighted, but basically this play starts with Davion Mitchell dribbling it up the court and passing it to RJ Barrett, and RJ Barrett kind of like just they've done nothing at this point. Absolutely nothing. They've gotten into nothing. Now just watch. We're 16 seconds into the shot clock. 15, 14, 13, still nothing, right? You're not a threat. Brook Lopez is comfortable there. 12, 11, 10, 9. And it's just like you're passing to Davion Mitchell and Taurean Prince, who has just been awful this year. Awful both years, last year and this year. He doesn't need to worry about this. This is creating this doesn't matter. They're happy to switch this. They don't care. Brook Lopez is like, do whatever you want, kid. Like they treat him. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I was 12 years old, I played with the big kids once. Like I played with kids like who were 18, 19. They needed an extra guy. And this is how they treated me. Okay. Now, to their disappointment, I lit them up for like 10 points. But still, Davion Mitchell is not 10-year-old me. So, like he's not gonna light shit up here. Okay. And as you know, he didn't make a single field goal tonight. It's just like you're so predictable, man. You're attacking a set defense. You drag the ball up the court. Who the hell do you think you are? And it's like you're launching off the wrong foot. You give him so much time, and it's like block. Easiest block of Giannis's night, man. He had some impressive ones. He had some easy ones. That was an easy one. Okay. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of Davion Mitchell. Okay. Look at this. Look, okay. We have, I think for most of us who've played basketball, I think if you're being honest with yourself, it was not this easy to shake your defender on a cut or a curl when you were in high school. Like this is so easy. A little like what the hell, man? That guy can shoot. He's literally in the starting lineup because he can shoot and he's been shooting. And there's another one. He shoots. Like how often Davion Mitchell gets lost in the defense is really for someone whose calling card is defense. Get the hell out of here, man. Now, this one, I'm gonna mute it, but this is the dunk. This is the dunk of the night from Bruno Fernando on a nice little pass from Gradey Dick. And this is Giannis saying, I don't want any of this. Oh my God, he threw that down on him. It was hilarious. And that got a nice score. This was a nice little view of red eye Scottie Barnes in a yellow sweater. Think he knew about the court beforehand. Tried to contrast to the court. That's pretty cool, right? We're going to run the East for the next 10 years with these two. Okay. I was going to try to caption something funnier, but decided not to. This is the play to end the half. Now, just watch Chris Boucher this entire time. Again, Chris Boucher and Davion Mitchell do some crazy shit, and they never call it out on the broadcast. So that's why we got to show. We got to show so we can call out some of this dumb shit that this team does. How do you do this, man? You got a guy. You got 4 guys watching the basketball. Chris Boucher, that's your man. You're supposed to be boxing him out. And you just and Chris Boucher is like, oh, no. Oh. And I clipped it a little early, but the second that play ended, Chris Boucher hung his head because he knew. He's like, oh, no. This is just knowing the clock, man. That is some absolutely bullshit play. And, you know, don't ever talk to me about the WNBA being unwatchable ever again. Because I promise, I watched at least 35 WNBA games. I don't think I saw this shit once in the WNBA. How many open passes, Chris? How many open passes? There's an open pass to RJ right now. You could probably have. I want to count. Okay. Open pass to Jamal Shed. Yes. Right here. No, decides not to pass to Jamal Shed. Decides, I'm going to look to RJ. So why not pass to RJ, bro? What are you doing? Right? Like, what are we doing here, Chris Boucher? No, now we're going to pass to RJ. And it's like, RJ should know better too. Like, he's cheating the other way. Go the other way, man. Why are you making this so hard? Y'all remember that commercial? Why are you making it so complicated? It's easy. Yeah, it's an inbound fucking pass. And neither one of these players is Matisse Thybulle or Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't understand why this is so complicated. Jeez, that play drove me insane. All right. This play has the funniest caption. It's a Chinese flag. And that is me trying to tell you that Davion Mitchell is straight up going to China. Listen, just watch this play. I'm gonna slow it down. Now, I understand DeLon Wright is a really good defender, but bro, he didn't defend this. You just dribbled this off your foot, and you're an NBA guard. I do not understand how the hell. No, you didn't even dribble off your foot. You dribbled it off your hand. What the hell are you doing? Jesus. Okay, that's out. Yeah, good job saving it. Probably going to create a live ball turnover. Crazy. Absolutely insane. All right. Now, this is the 32nd point for Gradey Dick. Really impressive. Again, Gradey just continued to impress me tonight, man. Just everything he did tonight. Even the shots he was missing. It's so impressive. That's probably an and one. I don't know if he went to the line after that, but that felt like an and one. And that was his 32nd point. And that's where he would stay, unfortunately. He would stay at 32. I'll argue that's a special. I was gonna say that's a special. Now watch Davion Mitchell here. Okay. Now Davion, for some reason, has decided to. Okay, he's guarding Giannis for some reason. Now, Ochai, that's Ochai's man, right? So now Davion is very, very obsessed with the ball, right? Davion is like a dog who lost his balls, right? So he just becomes very obsessed with the balls, right? So he's just like looking at the balls. He wants to see if you have the ball. He wants to see, like, oh, is there a ball there? Is there a ball there? And then you know what? His man just cuts away, right? And that's his man. You see that guy who's coming up to the top 20? That guy who's literally in the starting lineup, the guy who never does anything but take threes. Yeah. Guess what? He's going to take a three. He misses that three, but I thought it was worth highlighting there how incredibly crazy it is to watch Davion Mitchell off the ball defensively. Now, he had some pretty competent on the ball plays where he's attacking and he's pressuring the basketball, and he may have even forced a couple turnovers. I don't care. If you're going to give up open shots in the corner every third play and you're going to lose your man on a cut and you're going to get screened off a guy, you're not helping me defensively. And Lord knows you're not helping me offensively, because in 33 minutes, you managed to score 1 point. Like, my God, can we call Markelle Fultz for real? Like, how is Markelle Fultz unemployed right now? I need to understand this. Also, shout outs to 306 Canada Footy. Look at this. This is hilarious. So this is the NBA dunk score. This is new this year, where they have introduced this, jump, power, style, contest, etc., and it gives you a full score. Bruno Fernando earns 105.4. Unfortunately, he doesn't get credit because NBA Dunk Score app thinks that he is Bruno Caboclo. So 2 years away from being 2 years away on this app. Okay. And okay, this is a terrible play from RJ Barrett. I have no idea what he's thinking here, but it feels like he wants to throw this to Gradey Dick, right? But the problem is, how the hell? Like, I just want to like I want to see like what the frame was like when he throws this. Do you think that DeLon Wright is you? Like, that he's not going to steal this away? Like, you basically throw it right into DeLon's hands. That's crazy. Like, you gotta do something before you throw this. You project this pass the entire way. Look at this projection. Like, they teach you not to project the pass, right? So he sees Gradey, and then when y'all talk about assists and y'all talk about all this stuff, man. I tell you, gifted playmakers manipulate the defense before they throw this pass. Now, clearly, right now you have a lot of guys open because the Bucks are clearly packing the paint here to protect for the drive, right? This is a weak defender. RJ Barrett is one of your better offensive players, even though they didn't play like it tonight. So they're in help. So clearly, they have lost Gradey here. I mean, you have Ochai cutting back door wide open, right? Wide open. And I'll guarantee you right now, Scottie fakes to Gradey and throws it to Ochai. Not to talk about Scottie because he's not playing right now, but that's the right play here, right? Because Ochai is cutting behind Brook Lopez, and Brook Lopez will not recover in time to block that shot. But that's what you need to do. You need to manipulate the defense a little bit before you make this pass, but you cannot be projecting a pass. Like, let me see when he starts projecting it here. So, like, you just egregious. This is an egregious turnover. Turnovers happen in the NBA. In the context of an NBA game, they happen all the time. But this one just really pissed me off, right? Like, you can't. Okay. Now, we have been very kind to Jakob Poeltl because he had a lot of really crazy plays in this game. But you need to watch these next two plays. Now, Yak has his hands up. Grady is going to throw him the basketball. At this point, Jakob Poeltl has caught the basketball, right? That should be the end of it, right? He's caught the basketball. It's a guard. He has him sealed. This should be a nice turn and a nice little floater. But Jakob Poeltl cannot hold the basketball and decides to dive on the ground. And this has been happening all goddamn year. I don't remember this happening in previous years. Is there something wrong with his vision? I don't know. And I've alluded to the fact that Jakob Poeltl is a really not very good defender this year, and I want to show you an example of that. Okay, I understand Brook is having a tough night, but he is a good shooter. This little mid-range shot is probably the easiest shot Brook Lopez has gotten in the last 3 years. Like, this is his shot. You, as a defensive center who's played against him for years, has to know that. You played against him in the East for years. This is not new. You're not a rookie. You can't do this. And having this level of compete on the defensive end is absolutely deflating for your team. You see a shot like this go in, as a team, it breaks your back because you're competing, right? You got guys like Gradey who are competing out there, and it's just ridiculous to have possessions like that. I'm sorry, it is absolutely ridiculous. How is IQ injured? What the fuck am I missing here? Check the live before, man. We broke it down completely, but if you need a nice little refresher, it is it's on X. Like, we broke it down here. So I'll assume that some of you guys did not watch the earlier live because it was very, very close to the show. So just to reiterate, Immanual Quickley has a UCL, which is a ulnar collateral ligament tear. It's a partial tear per Michael Grange, and he will be reevaluated in a week. So you get that. Okay, let me move this off. Young saying we need more players with high basketball IQ. Yes, we do. And thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Johnny A saying Gradey, 14 for 15 free throws. He's box office. Yeah, Gradey Dick basically pulled a James Harden tonight. Okay. If there are no callers, let's talk about this game and what went wrong. What went wrong is a lot of things went wrong. I mean, quite frankly, I think that film breakdown was pretty damning. If you like the film breakdown, please give this video a like. It is, weirdly enough, a lot of work during the game. I don't feel like I've been enjoying Raptor games as much as I used to because I'm constantly worrying about like clipping the film and making sure that I have you guys covered. But it is weird because it's almost like I get to rewatch the game after with you guys. So I hope that it's been valuable for you guys to see these breakdowns very quickly after the game. so we can get a better sense of the game. I also try not to be too biased because, it's very easy to just pick on one player defensively, but not highlight their strong points. So I'll be clear, there are moments where RJ Barrett and Davion Mitchell had successful defensive plays for sure. Sasha saying we love it. Well, I'm glad you guys appreciate it. So we'll break out the trade machine in about 5 to 6 minutes, but let's just recap this game in a nutshell. The Toronto Raptors went into Milwaukee on the 5th game of a road trip in which they are 0-4. They moved to 2-10. They are in sole possession of the NBA's worst record right now. And if they were to tear it down, they would have a head start on tanking because there are teams like Detroit that won tonight. Atlanta just beat the Boston Celtics. If you want to look at the East standings, I think we need to actually look at the Eastern Conference standings right now just to give you guys an idea of where we're standing right now. And I have a feeling we are going to be looking at the Eastern Conference standings a lot on this show going forward because I feel like we just need to track this shit. But just give me 1 second here and pull this up. Okay, so as it currently stands, Phoenix is beating Utah, so that sucks for the tank. Dallas is beating Golden State. Minnesota is currently losing to Portland, but that will fall apart in the second half, I'm sure. Detroit beats Miami, so that's great for your chances there. Orlando beats Charlotte, that's not so great. New York beats Philly, and I believe Joel Embiid came back, right? I'm not mistaken. Joel Embiid came back, didn't make a difference. Yes, Embiid came back, went 2 for 11, and had 13 points. Great. But Paul George had 29. And Detroit beat Miami. Let's just see what happened there. Take a brief foray into the NBA world before we take a look. Bam Adebayo has been struggling, but seems like he had a pretty decent game tonight. Tyler Hero went off for 40. Didn't matter because didn't have Jimmy Butler. And for the Pistons, they get 21 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds for Cade Cunningham, who's balling out of his mind this year. And they move well ahead of the Toronto Raptors right now. They are 5-7, 3-4 at home. And so let's take a look at the standings because I think that they are going to be really relevant to our conversation. Okay, so here we are. There are the Raptors, right? 2-10. 2-10. That's not a joke. That's not funny. Military man saying, when does Barnes and IQ? I'm stressed, man. I'm assuming you're saying, when do Barnes and IQ come back? So Immanuel Quickley should be back in about 4 to 6 weeks. That's my estimate. Ja'Kobe Walter should be back in probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. And Scottie Barnes should be back in about 2.5 to 3 weeks. So yeah, that would be my guess going into it. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Okay. So there we are in the East. All right. You got Cleveland at the top. You got Boston second after losing tonight. You got the Atlanta Hawks, who are sneaky competitive. Dyson Daniels went off tonight. You got the Detroit Pistons at 5-7, so they are not really in contention right now for the worst record. And you've got the Raptors all the way at the bottom with their 2-10. You've got the Wizards with 2-7, the Philadelphia 76ers with 2-8, the Milwaukee Bucks, who won tonight, 3-8, and the Charlotte Hornets, who are 4-7. So, again, if you are the Toronto Raptors, you are the only team in the league with even 9 losses. You have a huge head start here. So that means the Jazz have to lose 3 more games, and they are fully capable of losing 50 more games. I mean, that's not the concern here. The Jazz have to lose 3 more games just to tie you. You have the worst win percentage in the league. You have a 16.7% win percentage. The next closest is 20, and it's the Sixers, and they are not going to tank, right? With that roster, with Nick Nurse, they're not tanking. So you can just remove the Sixers from the equation. The Sixers are going to have to go on a streak at some point, and they're probably going to beat some teams. So you take a look at that. And then in the Western Conference, you have the Utah Jazz at 2-7, who are, clearly bad. And you have the Pelicans, who are slumping because of injuries, having now lost Jose Alvarado as well as DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson. They have lost a lot, but they're getting Trey Murphy back, so that should be of some help. But you got the Portland Trail Blazers, who are just god awful bad, and they are 3-8. So maybe the Portland Trail Blazers will win, I don't know, 17 to 20 games this year. The Utah Jazz might win 12 to 20 games this year. So if the Raptors, you know, get their guys back and they start being competitive, they're going to be out of the dumps very quickly. And they're going to move to like the 6th worst record in a week. And that's a problem. That's a problem if you want to capture the flag. That's going to be a huge, huge problem. Darko saying Cooper flag, you are a Raptor. Well, don't jinx it. All right. I feel like we need to talk about this game a little bit more, but it's hard, man. It's traumatizing to talk about this game because there's so much wrong with it. It's hard to even go to where to start. There's a talent issue. Sure. I don't want to see Davion Mitchell playing this many minutes, man. He's so bad. 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 I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm not trying to lie to you. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he is so goddamn bad. I don't understand. I don't understand people who are coming at me telling me that I am being rude because I was suggesting his NBA future is on the line. Bro, his NBA future is absolutely on the line. What are we talking about here? You cannot be a starting point guard in the NBA and have 1 point in 33 minutes on 2 shot attempts and you make no impact on the game and you're getting lost backdoor and you're getting switched onto by bigger players and you're surrendering at the rim. You can't be this bad. You just can't. You can't be this bad in the NBA. He is the worst player in the NBA, not named Bronny James, bro. I am willing to put that in writing. He is so bad. And then you have, and I mean, God damn it, you look at the Bucks side of the roster, and the Bucks are terrible. The Bucks are an embarrassment to basketball. They really are. There's a reason, man. Those $7 fucking tickets for tonight's game. You know what? To a Raptor fan, if you listen to me, I'm so sorry. You know, I went on Twitter and I was like, "Oh, you want to see cheap Raptor games? Go see the Bucks. Go see the Bucks in Milwaukee. It's $7. You get a vacation out of it." First of all, Milwaukee sucks. I'm so sorry I sent you there. Number 2, this game was not worth $7. It's an NBA Cup game, and I don't care. It's not worth $7. It wasn't worth 70 cents. It's so bad. It was bad basketball, man. It's disgusting basketball, unless you're a huge Gradey fan, in which case you got to see his career high for $7. That's awesome. That's awesome. Maybe all the fans who went down are Gradey fans, and that's cool, right? There's a silver lining here. Gradey Dick is freaking awesome. Even on a night where his shot wasn't falling, Ochai Baji showed me something here. He is showing me. Nice one. No, I'm sorry. I don't think this is it at all. I mean, IQ is hurt, man. He is actually injured. They did an MRI, they tested it. He didn't, like, nobody does this on purpose. He worked his ass off this summer after he got paid, by the way. He worked really hard, right? He worked really hard. So, you know, like, respect the guy. And you know what? RJ Barrett worked really hard. I'm sure Davion Mitchell worked really hard. Respect all these guys. You know, they work hard. Bruno Fernando, you know, we were saying Bruno Fernando is ass. Bruno Fernando has strung together 3 consecutive good games. There's a positive. There is a great positive. They need to recoup. They need to regather themselves. Right now, the Raptors have lost their identity. The ball is not moving. It is sticking in RJ Barrett's hand. He does not trust his jump shot enough. He's overthinking everything. He's driving into the congested paint. He's not seeing the game, not reading the game very well. And it's only compounded by the fact that Davion Mitchell is 100 times worse. And you're throwing the ball out to Davion to reset the defense. And he is so goddamn bad. He is so bad. Make this nightmare end. Oh my God. Watching Davion Mitchell is taking years off my life right now. I'm not even lying. I'm not kidding. I'm not capping. Like, I feel like I'm going to develop a drinking problem watching this guy play basketball. It is a true, it's not professional basketball. I don't know what the hell this is. I've never seen a guard do things like this. How are you an NBA player and you are unable to break down defensive liabilities? Pat Connaughton is not a great defender by any means. You're not asking you to break down prime Michael Jordan. I'm not asking you to hit fadeaways over 3 defenders. An open layup would be nice. It'd be nice. What the Raptors are doing is sustainably it's built for failure. It's built for failure. It's like trying to I don't know a lot about cars. And I'm just gonna level with you guys. I don't know a lot about cars, but let me try to stab in the dark at an analogy. It would be like trying to go against like a sports car with like a sedan. I don't know. Like or or a Honda Civic or something, and not like a souped up Honda Civic, but like just a normal Honda Civic. And you're like, yeah, sure, you can go 150. You can go 150, but you can't stay at 150. You can't stay at 150, 160 for very long. You will break down. You're not built for that. The Raptors are not built for this. Giannis Antetokounmpo is not exerting himself and running out of oxygen to play defense because he's a great defender. The Raptors don't have great defenders. So they are running out of oxygen just trying to play slightly above their heads. And I don't even think that I'm not being mean when I say this. It's not very effective. He's the 30th ranked defense in the league for a reason. Are you kidding me? Davion is much worse. He is much worse. He's worse than Malachi Flynn. He's worse than he's the worst point guard I think I have ever seen in a Raptors jersey, not named Milt Palacio. And honestly, he might be giving Milt Palacio a run for his money. It's just crazy. Bro, for real. I think I read an article by Esfandiar Barhani saying like he's going to change the defensive identity of this team and he's going to be the Raptors' sixth man. And I'm just like, man, I hope to God that he has watched this guy play because this shit is like, I like Jamal Shed. Right now, he is struggling immensely. He is struggling immensely. Okay. Jameson Battle is struggling. These guys are just out of air, man. It's like those fresh legs are just dead legs right now. That springy Jonathan Mobo. Like, I don't understand how Jonathan Mobo did not play more in this game. Why is Jonathan Mobo in the doghouse, bro? He's got 11 fucking minutes tonight. Are you a developing team? Why is if you're a developing team, Chris Boucher and Bruno Fernando got 38 minutes tonight and Jonathan Mobo got 11? What are we building here? Accountability? Well, I'm sorry. Like, I understand that you need Chris Boucher's offense, but like, shit, what's the difference? You're losing by 14. You're losing by 30. It doesn't matter. You're still losing. Is Chris Boucher better than Jonathan Mobo right now? Hell yes, he's better than Jonathan Mobo right now. Hell yes. He's also 31 years old. He's 31 years old. I would much, much rather lose playing Jonathan Mobo 30 minutes a night. I understand this is such a casual take, and I have been against people saying stuff like this, but man, Jonathan is a good defender. He is a good defender, and he needs reps. He needs time. It feels like he's just lost confidence in himself right now, and he took one shot tonight, and he's not, granted, he's not playing with that same relentless energy, and maybe, if you're Darko Rajakovic, you got to keep shit consistent because you're basically telling him, if you're not going to play with that level of energy, you're not going to play. Cool. Bruno Fernando is outplaying him tonight. Bruno Fernando had 13 rebounds tonight, which is insane. In 18 minutes, he had 13 rebounds. You know who could use Bruno Fernando right now? Probably the OKC Thunder. Probably the OKC Thunder. For real. Like they could use them. Maroon Prince saying Davion Mitchell, Bruno Fernando, and Chris Boucher are literally wasting our time and potential developing minutes for the others. Yeah. Malachi Flynn or Davion Mitchell? Malachi had moments, man. Malachi could shoot. Malachi was not giving you 1 point in 33 minutes. I'm sorry. Like I realize this live is going to be misconstrued as like very, very disparaging and rude to Davion Mitchell, but I am more or less just sick of people talking about him as a great defender. He is not a great defender. He is not a great defender. He gets lost all the goddamn time. I need y'all to wake up to this shit because it's like the same shit that we were going through with Gary Trent Jr. When I went on Raptors Digest and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Rob's Rob is such a Gary Trent Jr. hater. How could he ever say Gary Trent Jr. is a bad defender? It's like, how could you say he's not a bad defender? Are you watching him? Are you watching him get blown by? Are you watching him struggle on every single mismatch? Are you watching him? God, it's like people don't have a brain. So they just watch like what Jack Armstrong says. And they're just like, well, Jack Armstrong's talking about Gary Trent's defense. So I guess Gary Trent's a good defender. Jack is a company man. I mean, he'll occasionally call shit out, but like for the most part, like he's not keeping it 100%. Most of these people are not keeping it 100%. Vince Carter today, like, I mean, shit, Vince, one of my favorite players of all time, but what the fuck? Gradey throws a pass to Jakob Poeltl, the play that we showed, in transition where he throws it. And he's just like, again, good idea, but I'm not sure I want him to throw that pass and, to the big man in a traffic area. And I'm like, bro, he found him. It was wide open. What are we doing? Yak dropped the ball. How is that Grady's fault? Sometimes I think these guys are not paying attention to the game. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, call and link is in the description if you want to call in, but we are going to get to the trade machine at this point. Okay. We got to explore a couple of trades, and we are going to look at this and see what's up. I don't want to go to the post game interview today because I don't want to listen to any more of that bullshit. Frankly, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same answer. Oh, where are you at, bro? You should call in and tell me why RJ Barrett's a franchise player. I would love to hear your opinion on that. Please let us know. At least, for all the, RJ Barrett's better than Scottie Barnes stuff. Can we get a little bit of a my bad, I was wrong? Can we get that from you? Come on, man. In the infamous words of Russell Peters, be a man, do the right thing. Come on, man. Do it. Okay. All right. We gotta look at this trade machine. You think he's making decent reads? Lord help me. Actually, Lord help you. You need to go watch that film session. He is not making decent reads at all. He's making the simplest reads imaginable. He's making the simplest reads imaginable, and he is turning the ball over at a rate that is astonishing. What's a decent read, Rue? He goes into the paint, he tucks the ball, and there's a corner shooter open. Surprise, it's Davion Mitchell. He's open for a reason, man. That's not a decent read. He passes it out to Bruno Fernando at the three-point line. That's not a decent read. I think like you need to see this. Like, yes, we're going to face Cade Cunningham in a couple of days, and that should be interesting because I'm probably going to catch some strays too, because I like you have been a fool, and I've been saying, RJ Barrett, he's not that far away from Cade Cunningham, and I have a feeling that that take is going to age like about as well as milk. Okay, so okay, all right. Let's take a look at the trade machine and let's get some of these dudes out of here. Okay. So the first team that we are going to look at is the New York Knicks because they desperately need a center, and I have one that I would like to give them, and that is a Jakob Poeltl. Okay, and I want to see what they can offer in return because the salaries are not going to be super easy to match, but you can trade for Mitchell Robinson's 2-year deal. I just want to see what we can get in terms of pick compensation. Okay, so this deal will work. They have the 2025 Detroit protected 1 through 13. That's probably not going to convey. They have the 2025 Washington 1 through 10. That's probably not going to convey. They have their own 2026. Okay. I would love to know what the protection goes into and if this becomes unprotected at some point or becomes a second round pick. And that information, unfortunately, is not available to me here. But let's let's bet on the Pistons to make the playoffs. Would you guys do this deal? Uh, and oh wow, these protections are wild. Detroit's second round pick protected 31st to 55th. Okay. Oh man, that's crazy. Okay. Now, is this a fair trade or is this a fair trade? I don't think they're going to be able to do this because they're an apron team, aren't they? Yeah, we're going to get aproned out. Yeah. So the Knicks are unable, since they are now an over the second apron team, they are only able to take back 100% of the salary they are sending out plus $0. The Knicks can only take back zero. Okay. Do, 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 do. But can they aggregate players? That is the question that I need to ask. Hang on. Okay, give me one sec here. No, this is like the new CBA. We need to be like mindful that certain teams are going to have a really difficult time making trades, and the Raptors are blissfully aware of this. Okay, so we need to take back another 6 million. We're willing to take a Precious Achua expiring back. I don't think so, but that's probably what it's going to take. Now, can they aggregate salaries? Cannot be traded until December 15th. Shit. This is just not going to work. And this is like, I think this is the complication of the NBA in general. Like, you're just going to have these. We're just going to have these terribly difficult trades that are going to be really hard to make because teams are so capped out with the second apron, especially teams like the New York Knicks. So that you'd have to match salary for salary on Jakob Poeltl, and that's just really hard. Okay. Undo that. Okay. What can we give them that's fair? Kelly Olynyk? I don't think that's gonna help them defensively. Chris Boucher doesn't really help them defensively either. Mm, I don't see how, like, does Chris Boucher help them? Like, what is Boucher a Tibbs type of player? How desperate are they to get off of Mitchell Robinson? They probably value Mitchell Robinson more than Boucher. I don't think the Raptors and Knicks are good trade partners, which kind of sucks because they really need a center next to Karl-Anthony Towns, and we can't trade ours because the salaries just won't work. Like, literally, the salaries do not work. They're not giving you Josh Hart. They're not going to give you Miles Bridges in a trade. There's no other salaries to make the deal work. So unless you're trading for OG Anunoby, right? It's just not going to work. It's that sad, but it's true. Okay, let's move on. Let's move away from the Knicks and let's go to the other team that really desperately needs a center. And let's try to see if we can get Chris Boucher to or Jakob Poeltl to the OKC Thunder. Okay. So the OKC Thunder, for those of you who don't know, have lost Chet Holmgren for the time being. They are also currently missing Isaiah Hartenstein. He is soon to come back, but nevertheless, they're very, very undersized. And while it is not completely clear to me that they would absolutely desperately need to make a trade, I do think they could use some depth at that position, and they might just have a salary or two they might be willing to get off of. And I'm wrong. They don't have a single salary that they can trade for Chris Boucher. Not a one. Not a single one. Now, do they have their mid-level exception? That could be a deal that we could probably look into. They're not trading you Isaiah Joe for a stopgap solution. They're not trading you Aaron Wiggins for a stopgap solution. Nothing. So maybe it would be a 3-team deal, that kind of thing. But that's tough because that's a team that desperately needs it. What about Philly? Could Philly be looking to make a trade? Do they have contracts to make a trade? You see, like what's happening in the NBA right now is it's really complicated to make deals for one big reason. There aren't a lot of middle salaries that usually are the things that help deals get done. There's massive salaries and then there's minimum salaries. And you see a team like Milwaukee, if you look at Milwaukee's cap sheet, take a look. Let me just show you. Like you would love to be able to give them some help at this point to help them out in their situation and maybe milk some picks. But look at their players, right? You got Pat Connaughton, you got Bobby Portis, but then after that, it's just all minimum guys. Like you can't do anything with these guys. They're all 1 year minimum guys, right? So, like, sure, you could trade for Chris Middleton and you could give them like some value for that, but it's like, what are you going to do with Chris Middleton, right? So I'm at a point right now. Does anyone have any ideas for trades? Because I'm open. Pirtle and RJ to the Pelicans. For what? For what? Brandon Ingram? I mean, that's fair. The Pelicans desperately need a 5. They don't have one. And they could be looking to save their season at this point, although it is getting away from them very quickly. Okay. Let's see. What do the Pelicans have? They have CJ McCollum. I have no interest. They have DeJounte Murray. I love DeJounte, but no interest right now. Would I explore a Brandon Ingram trade? Not at this point in the season. He probably helps you a little too much. Do I want Zion Williamson? No, I wouldn't touch Zion Williamson with a 10-foot pole right now. So that's just throw that out. What about the Miami Heat? Can you make a deal with the Miami Heat? No, you can't because it's the same goddamn situation. I'm telling you right now, it's like the Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets are like the only trade partner, and it just makes you better. In terms of making you worse, like, I mean, you're seeing these teams. Where is the landing spot for Bruce Brown? Where is that landing spot? Where is this mystery team that is going to give you something of value for Bruce Brown? Where is this mystery team that is going to give you something of value for Chris Boucher that you're holding out for a second round pick? I could look at the Sacramento Kings and say, like, hey, they could use a defender. They could use something like that. Okay, sure. What do? You trade Kevin Huerter for Jakob Poeltl? That could help them with their center situation, gets you a movement shooter. I'm not sure I'd do that. You have variations of this player on your team. You would have to be significantly compensated for this. They're not giving you Keon Ellis because he is like their one saving grace. And frankly, they're getting pretty decent value out of Alex Len, who's on a $2 million minimum. And this is what I said when we signed Jakob Poeltl to $20 million. Like, you just can't keep signing players to way more than they're worth and expect them to have real value. You know, a player who signed a really reasonable deal? Jonas Valanciunas. I think he's slightly overpaid at $9 million, but like he's not massively overpaid. This is the type of player that if a team is looking like, hey, we really need a depth big, we're going through insane injuries. What's the gap between a Jakob Poeltl and a Jonas Valanciunas right now? For real, it's not that big. And he signed to 10 million less, same years. Like, why would I give up anything of consequence for Jakob Poeltl at this point? So I think the Raptors are just stuck, man. I hate to say it to you guys. I'm sorry to build this up. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum here, unless you're willing to part out with IQ or Ochai or Grady or something like that. Like, I don't really see a lot of trades here. Where you will be active and where you can potentially be active is making yourself better when teams that are deciding to be bad decide to be really bad, right? So you get teams like the Portland Trailblazers. We already did a deal for Scoot Henderson the other day. I mean, that's one, that you could look at. That's a team like that's really going nowhere, and you can get an influx of talent on the cheap. But it's like with every passing game, it's just like almost like, what's the point? You look at a team like the Utah Jazz. Do they have any contracts you're interested in? Colin Sexton, not really. Jordan Clarkson, not really. Taylor Hendricks out for the year. Cody Williams, still a rookie. Drew Eubanks, not really. You just look down this list and you're like, okay, Walker Kessler. Yeah. Am I willing to give up 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler right now? No. Probably not to save this season. Hell no. I'd probably just draft a Walker Kessler next year. right? Like, why do I need to give up 2 first-round picks for a guy that I could probably find in next year's draft if I apply myself, who's probably younger? And then, you look at the Pistons, like, maybe the Pistons could look to be better. Okay, this could be a team. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. The Pistons are an interesting team because, they've had a surprising amount of success. They're a pretty small market team. Could they be looking to potentially trade what, though? What would they be trading? They're not trading you first round picks for Jakob Poeltl because they can certainly fetch more for that. They're not going to trade you Jaden Ivey. They're not trading you Ron Holland. They're not trading you Asar Thompson. What do you get? Like, the best thing I could think of is like, okay, maybe, just maybe, if you could really, really stretch it, you could swap Jakob Poeltl for Isaiah Stewart. But I'm not really sure like what that would do for you right now. And then you got Tobias Harris on a $25 million deal. Damn, I swore that was $32 million across 2 years. $25 million a year for him is egregious. I don't know how that guy continues to get paid as much as he gets paid, but it is nuts. The Clippers, no. Suns, no. Pelicans, Lakers. Could the Lakers use a center? Not really. Could the Lakers use some help? Yeah, probably, but you're taking back D'Lo. Okay. Yeah. That's an idea that helps you tank. Would I do this? Yeah, this absolutely initiates the tank. Let's see. Okay. Why? Oh, I'm over by 1 million. The complications continue. Holy crap. Okay. Man, this is tough. Okay. Can we trade for Bronny James just for shits and giggles? No, I'm kidding. I think, I guess you would take on Jalen Hood Shafino. There you go. Cool. That's a deal. I could see that deal being made. They can't trade their 2026 first round pick. Why? Is it their 2028? Is it because of the it's because of the Stepien rule because they gave up their 2025. Right. So it'd be 2028. They could trade 2028, right? Or because they traded their 2027, they can't trade until 2031. Am I right? So it's their 2030 pick that can be traded? Cool. Top 5 protected. Nah, they're probably going to want a top 8 protection on that. But now it's like it's even harder to make this deal. Wait, what? Damn it, no. Okay, knock that out. That's the one we want. Okay, corrected. I wonder why it didn't stop me from making the deal. Anyways, okay. So I mean, that's something, and maybe you can rehab some of Jalen Hood Shafino. He's a big playmaker. He's probably, you know what? I said Davion Mitchell's the worst player in the league. Jalen Hood Shafino is probably the worst player in the league for real. Okay, so that's one deal that we could at least look at, which helps you get really bad really quickly, right? I mean, you have no center now. You're playing Kelly Olynyk at the center. D'Angelo Russell is chucking shots off the bench, probably going to waive him at some point or try to trade him to another team. I don't know. I don't know what that does for you other than gets you a pick and gets you off of Jakob Poeltl's long-term deal. trying to think like who could use him. Could the Rockets use Jakob Poeltl? No, because they have Steven Adams and they didn't pay their guy $20 million. Could you swap a Jakob Poeltl for a Nikola Vucevic? Yes, but why would they do that? That's fair. Would they give you Patrick Williams if they have some buyer's remorse, but then you take 5 years of Patrick Williams, which sucks? Add Reddish. Why would they give up Cam Reddish? They're obviously going to give up Jalen Hood-Schifino because he sucks. And they didn't even extend his offer. So they're pretty much like telling you Jakob to the Pels for Nance plus. Larry Nance is not on the Pelicans. Larry Nance is part of the deal that went over to the Hawks for the Dyson Daniels and DeJounte Murray trade. Didn't we have interest in P. Will in the summer? Apparently we did. I don't want to entertain a world in which Patrick Williams is on my team, though. I'm just going to be real about that. Patrick Williams is ass. I understand he's a Florida State University guy, and you know, you got to support Florida State. Love Florida State University. Love Leonard Hamilton. Shout outs to Jason Simpson. Shout outs to, you know, all the Seminoles. Shout outs to Terrence Mann, Patrick Williams, Scottie Barnes. Patrick Williams is ass, man. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that dude. I just can't. Like the minute I found out he wanted like close to a max contract, I was like, yo, this is delusional. I can't. Like, I understand, get the bread, get the bag, whatever. Oh my God, you mean a competent point guard on the Toronto Raptors? Holy shit, that would be so fucking nice, man. That would be great because we literally have not had a competent point guard on this team since Kyle Lowry. That would be awesome. Lonzo Ball is awesome, but he is injury prone and probably just way too good for this team right now. New Jersey, nice throwback, has lots of 2025 picks. Yeah, but they're not stupid. They're not getting rid of them. Nurkic? No, I'm good. Rue saying 2 out of 10, 2 and 10 is getting nasty outside. Is getting nasty. It's almost as nasty as your RJ Barrett takes. I'm just clowning, but for real, like there need to be actions on the internet need to have actual consequences. Okay. All right. Do the Suns even have picks? They do not. The Suns are absolutely pick depleted. Malachi Flynn just played Marquise Noel in the G League game. Point guard depth was tough. Bro, Davion going to be coaching G League next year. Nurkic is trash. Bro was garbage. Bro was my garbage confirmation. Rather have one of them over Davion. For real. Nice job deflecting, man. Nice job. It's like it's Davion Mitchell's fault. The absolutely offensively challenged worst player in his draft class by a country mile in terms of value replacement. Let's expect that guy to man the starting unit. It's not RJ Barrett's fault. It's not RJ Barrett's fault that he keeps driving into a set defense. Oh man. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a Will Ferrell. It was a skit, The Axis of Evil, where he starts talking about all the people that are in his axis of evil. And he's like, Italy, Germany, France, you were the original axis of evil. Thought we forgot. We did not. You're back in. And yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking about Jakob Poeltl and the axis of evil, but watching Davion Mitchell run my team kind of makes you think these things, man. I don't know. I don't know. This is the worst live in the history of the world. I don't know how 362 people are watching me lose my goddamn mind. Milt Palacio or Davion Mitchell. Bro, I got to go with Milt, man. Respect Milt Palacio, man. I've never valued Milt Palacio more before this year, man. It makes you really admire all the great point guards in Raptors history. We were so spoiled. What were we thinking? To take for granted. Do you remember those debates? TJ Ford or Jose Calderon? Oh my God, TJ Ford or Jose Calderon. And it's like Team TJ and Team Jose. It's like, bring them both back, man. I think it's 10 years since TJ Ford has been medically retired. And I guarantee you could score more than 1 point in an NBA game right now. Bring back, y'all remember Alvin Williams, Boogie Williams. I used to have a lot of issues with Boogie Williams. You know, his shot selection. Bring him back. He's right there. Not doing a great job calling the game. Get him in the game. Bet you Boogie Williams scored more than 1 point in this game. He's sore as hell after. Are you insane? Eric Snow was great. Eric Snow was a really good point guard. What are we doing here? Eric Snow was a starting point guard on a championship team. Eric Snow was kind of ass sometimes. That jumper was oof. But he's a great defender. Davion or Killian Hayes? Killian, man. I got to go with Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes talented. He's bad. He's talented. Yo, y'all really exposing yourselves as super casuals. Aaron McKee, what are you doing? What did the 76ers, what did the 2001 76ers do to you? Where you are Omar Cook or Davion Mitchell? Maybe we go with Davion Mitchell. What? DeLon Wright is one of my favorite basketball players in the league. I love him. I think he's like one of the most underappreciated guys. What are we doing here? DeLon is great. Frank Ntilikina or Davion? Frank's a hell of a lot more entertaining to watch. I'll give you that. Current 62-year-old Michael Jordan or Davion? I would pay to watch 61, 62-year-old Jalen Harris. Jalen Harris was good. Mike James was a good player. I just couldn't stand his personality. That was it. Bronny is better than Davion. No, Bronny is definitely worse than Davion Mitchell. He is considerably worse than Davion Mitchell right now. It is worth noting, however, that if Bronny James works really, really hard for the next 4 years, he can become Davion Mitchell. Bro, Will Solomon or Davion Mitchell? I don't know. Respect Will Solomon, man. Ben Simmons or Davion? Bro, Ben Simmons is leap years more talented than Davion Mitchell, but I will say $39 million is crazy. Davion Mitchell or Joey Graham? I was a Joey supporter. Supported him till the very end. I remember one day I talked to Jack Armstrong about it, and I tried to convince Jack Armstrong I think I was 16, 17 years old. How old was I? 17 years old? 17 or 18 years old. And I tried to convince Jack Armstrong that Joey Graham was going to be like a really great defender. And he was like, we'll see. That was funny. Juan Dixon or Davion Mitchell? Juan Dixon, of course. Rob or Davion? Me? Davion Mitchell killed me though. That's for real. I'm gonna be honest. He would destroy me. Chris Bosh, Current, or Davion? Chris Bosh. Jared Bayless or Dave? Why are y'all talking about good players? Like, you should be talking about like players who were fringe NBA players. Like, you need to be talking about like Master P. You know, Master P in the G League, in the Summer League for the Raptors, or Davion Mitchell. You need to be talking about Justin Bieber, you know, Like guys who were like you have to Kevin Hart or Davion, right? Like you need to go deeper in your bag, right? Like y'all talking about Jose Calderon? Are you crazy? Jose Calderon was good. Marcus Banks is the first really good. Well, that's not true. Mikey Williams, holy shit. That's a callback. Davion better, but Mikey Williams was nice. Marcus Banks or Davion? I mean, so similar, right? Such similar players. Damn, Anthony Gill or Davion. I don't know. Kwame Brown or Davion. Give me Kwame Brown. I like Kwame. I mess with Kwame. Okay. Maceo Baston or Davion. Yeah, I like Maceo Baston. Shout outs to Maccabi Tel Aviv. Shout outs to the 2006, 2007 Raptors. Adam Sandler or Davion. That depends, man. Adam Sandler in that movie where he goes to prison and he plays those dudes and he hits all those shots. I don't know how many edits it took to get him to hit those shots, but I feel like his jumper was very smooth and he was very tough. He was very Davion Mitchell-esque in the prison at the prison. So I feel like maybe Adam Sandler would bring a lot of cachet and entertainment value, right? Bro, Airbud was a dog, though. Sherman Hamilton or Davion Mitchell. Dear God. Mike James is my immaculate grid goat. Chris Boucher or Davion. I'm going to give it to Chris Boucher. DJ Carlson or Damian. You mean DJ Carton or Davion? And I say DJ Carton. Tariq saying Airbud has me dead. Bro, for real. Y'all need to be talking about like Monstars and geez, Bargnani or Davion. You're speaking to the world's biggest Andrea Bargnani fan, so I'm the wrong tree to bark up on that one. Current Michael Jackson or Davion. Yeah, that's disrespectful as hell. Michael Jackson passed away. That's also disrespectful. Roko Ukic was a bucket. Shout outs to Roko Lenny Ukic. Really good dude. Really, really good dude. Kenny Chandler or Davion? I'll give it to Davion. Kennedy Chandler is bugging me the hell out watching him in the G League, but he is more talented offensively than Davion Mitchell. But I would say defensively, he has so many bigger holes. Like you would lose your mind watching Kennedy Chandler in an NBA game for 33 minutes. Sebastian Telfair or Davion? Sebastian Telfair was fun to watch. Jeff Doughton Jr. Bro, I led the Free Jeff campaign. Jeff Doughton is my guy. Jeff Doughton clears Davion Mitchell. Marquise Noel or Davion. I'll give it to Davion. I'll give it to Davion. Luke Ridnour? Luke Ridnour, easy. Free Jeff. Literally led that moment. Led that movement. No, I'm not frozen. I'm not frozen. I'm not frozen. Yo, what? What? I'm sorry. I was like, I feel like I just had an aneurysm. You know what I mean? Like, yo, Yuki's great. Yuki's awesome. Super cool. Find yourself rooting for that guy a lot. Not gonna lie. I don't know who Coughing Baby is. Go easy on this kid. His name is Caden, so he's probably 14 years old. You'll have to explain to me what the connection is between the name Caden and the person's age. I have no idea. But if you are 14, no, Santa's not real, and RJ Barrett's not an all-star. Lakers for Yuck. Caden saying, I am 14 years old. I'm so sorry about the Santa thing, man. I apologize. I found out today that we have such a sophisticated audience and really just like a super smart audience, just getting to connect with a few people on X. And I was just shocked. I'm like, damn, these people are super smart. And then I subject you guys to 20 minutes of is he better than Davion? Jeez. Tariq saying this will go down as a legendary live. Hell yeah, man. Off this one game alone, he can't be an all-star. All right. Let's try to be positive, man. Try to be positive. You know, like you feel like those crazy people that are just like wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round. You know what I mean? Like just watching Davion Mitchell just consistently walk the ball up the court and just dribble the ball off his foot. You just want it to stop. You just want it to stop. And you know, you want it to stop, but it doesn't stop. And you're just like, man, can this shitty cable that I'm receiving from Rogers just cut out so I don't have to subject myself to the rest of this? But it doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Hey, Hakeem, you know, may not have been here for a long time, but he was here for a good time. Like he was good, man. He was all right. Like he was clearly not the Hakeem Elijah one, but you're not gonna lie. Like, I mean, it sucks that you paid him for 3 years. Absolutely sucks that you paid him for 3 years. But it was really cool to have Hakeem Olajuwon in Toronto. Not gonna lie, that was really cool. Rogers Internet or Davion? I'll take Davion. I really hate Rogers Internet. I don't know. Maybe he patterned his game after the starting point guard. He was just like, hey, maybe in Toronto, we like guys who miss layups and can't make a single jump shot to save their lives. Would you ever trade for Fred in the future? No. No. Hell no. Justin Trudeau or Davion? I'll take Davion. I would literally vote for Davion as my prime minister 10,000 times over voting for that dude again. And just to be clear, I don't vote for him the first time. Y'all dissing RJ. What are you talking about? You have literally made this entire chat have a 35-minute dissection of how bad Davion Mitchell is, just so we can stop talking about just how terrible RJ Barrett was today. Yeah. Mm-mm. RJ is Rue. Get in the gym. Get in the gym and work on your decision making. Okay, so it's worth noting RJ is struggling immensely, right? And the offense is sort of suffocating around him. Like there's a lot of slow decisions. There's a lot more holding on to the basketball. There's a lot less trust. You know, it feels like Jonte clearly, guys. Yeah, I'm done answering these. I apologize. It was a fun game while it lasted. It's probably getting a little bit old at this point, but I'll say like now all I can think about is answering the rest of these questions. Jeez. This is hilarious live was needed after what we just watched. I figured that might be the case. Pop So and I have a history. Uh so I'm gonna pick that's tough. That's tough. I'll tell you what, I'll give you Pops Mets and Bonsu. Pops Mensah over Davion. Oliver saying, waiting for Rob to change his mind on watching the post-game interviews. Honestly, watching the post-game interviews might be all right. NBA Jeff or Davion. Give me Davion. All right. Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up. I will pull up the post games. Are the post games up? Are they up? Okay, sure. Whatever. Let's check it out, man. Maybe we need to. I mean, look, it was a tough game. This was one of those games where you're like, damn, this just absolutely sucks. And you wanted a competitive loss. You got a career high from Gradey. We haven't talked enough about Gradey, but maybe we should, right? Like Gradey's potentially going to be an all-star at some point, and I think that is a clear vision that I can see. These aren't empty calories. It's not easy what he's doing out there. It's like really difficult shit that he's doing right now, you know? And I'm not gassing it up just because it's like the Raptors were so bad, we need to find a positive. No, Gradey was genuinely a positive until he ran out of gas. He was on pace for 40. And you just think to yourself, the difficulty of shots that he is getting right now, is it possible? Like, is it? Y'all just made me look for the post game, and the post game's not even live. Too bad. So, super amped and ended up super disappointed. Were you talking about the year in general, or are you talking about Gradey? Tal Cooper saying watching Gradey highlights is better than watching the Raptors game, to be honest. Sure. Tariq saying, can't lie, when Hedo signed to the Raptors that summer, I was amped. You know what? We need to do a video at some point. I'm going to see if Ox would come on and discuss this Chris Bosh bullshit, because I feel like every player struggled next to Chris Bosh and did pretty okay without him. And the couple of years where the Raptors were okay and they managed to accumulate 3 grand total playoff wins, it was largely because Bosh had a lot of help. A lot of help that people don't often talk about. Guys like Jermaine O'Neal, Sean Marion, Andrea Bargnani, who gets very maligned, Hedo Turkoglu, Jose Calderon, TJ Ford, Anthony Parker, like Jorge Garbajosa, Rashan Esterovich. Like, these were good teams. Do you remember the 06, 07 Raptors? I do. It was one of my favorite teams. TJ Ford is a starter, right? TJ Ford. You had Jose Calderon coming off the bench. You had Joey Graham coming off the bench. Chris Humphries coming off the bench. You had Jorge Garbajosa starting for a bit. You had Andrea Bargnani coming off the bench as a rookie. He averaged like 11 points. You had Rashan Esterovich as a token starter next to Chris Bosh. You had Anthony Parker, Jorge Garbajosa. Like, it was a decent team, like it was like good spacing, good movement, good off-ball cutting. It was like very similar to what you're trying to establish right now. It's just, you won 47 games. 47 games. And TJ Ford was legit. And you traded, Charlie Villanueva to get him. It's very interesting. Because ironically, TJ, prior to the injury in Milwaukee and then subsequently the injury in Toronto where Al Horford chased him down, he was supposed to be like legit. TJ Ford at Texas, TJ Ford in high school. Like, dude, you don't remember the conversations around this guy. People were talking about him like he was going to be Allen Iverson. And he was great. Like, TJ Ford, medicals, different story. TJ Ford, the player, holy crap, this guy was good, man. I remember him in Texas. He was so good. Like, he could break down a defense. He could shift defenses. He was good in the mid-range. He was really, like, it felt like he had eyes in the back of his head. As an undersized guard, he would get paint touches at will. Like, he was just really small. But he was super athletic. He could dunk. TJ Ford could dunk. There was a reason he was a starting point guard for the Raptors. Nice one saying, I love TJ Ford's. TJ Ford, hell yeah, man. TJ Ford was great. But, unfortunately, the injury did him in. But I really liked him. I really enjoyed watching him. And I did not think that it was a debate between him and Jose Calderon at all. At all. Rudy talks shit about the Raptors. Rudy gay? Nah, I'm good. Like Chris Paul. Yeah, similar. I mean, Chris Paul was a slightly different level of athlete. I think like he was a better athlete. He was just like 2, 3 inches taller, but you know, it's not that far. It wasn't that far. Initially, it wasn't that far. I mean, it became very far. Tariq saying Rudy Gay is the worst Raptor ever. Are you watching? What did you just watch tonight? How the hell is Rudy Gay worse than what you saw tonight? There's like 5 players on your team right now that are considerably worse. But Rudy Gay was awful. He's the worst franchise players ever. Arman Basim saying, Rob, which Raptors channels do you support? Support? I can't say I support any of them necessarily. I mean, I've dabbled into Raptors Digest largely because of Samson and Louis Satzman. I can't say I support very many at all. Sorry. I've been on a few. Like I've been on, the aforementioned one that we talked about with the Gary Trent debate. I've been on a couple of smaller ones. There's a couple of new ones that have kind of come up, but yeah. What did I say? I said Raptors Republic, right? What did I say? Oh, Goateology, I 100% support. Athletic Alchemy, I 100% support. Oh, I apologize. My bad. I did not mean Digest. I meant Raptors Republic. I apologize. Yeah, I've been on Raptors Digest. Yeah. Yeah, Goateology is cool. He's a friend, and he's a friend of the channel. He's a community member, and yeah, he's a really cool dude. Yup. No, now we're good. Yeah, this comment section going wild. Way too much engagement. Anyways, yeah. So I mean, look, you get glimpses of the future in a game like tonight, where you do see how simple it is for Grady to get downhill. Like some of these moves that he's making against Giannis, and some pretty competent perimeter defense. I'm not gonna lie, like you know, it's pretty competent perimeter defense. They don't have like the worst perimeter defenders. Damian Lillard wasn't out there. Gary Trent was barely out there tonight. So some of the worst defenders are sitting down. Torian Prince not a great defender, but he's competent. Like so you're doing this against admittedly a really bad team, but they're bad for a multitude of reasons. They're bad because Dame has been just awful. They're bad because they're missing shots. They're bad because of Doc Rivers. They're bad because they miss a lot of shots and their offense is absolutely trash. But like respect, right? Like Giannis can swat it with the best of them. Like he's a pretty good rim protector. And Brooke Lopez historically has been a really good rim protector. And Gradey Dick just went downhill every single time, right? So I just I think there's that to take away. And again, the continued growth of Ochai Abaji, right? I had a post earlier today, and we talked about I talked about everything that Ochai Abaji is leading the Raptors in, and it's astonishing. Going into this game, do you know that Ochai Abaji was leading the Raptors in offensive win shares with 0.8? He was leading the Raptors in value of a replacement. He was leading the Raptors, the second on the Raptors in box plus minus with a 2.0. Do you realize Ochai Abaji was leading the Toronto Raptors with a 70% true shooting, which I'm pretty sure is right around the same, right? Like right now. Man, like it's cool. It's cool. Like Ochai and Grady are a revelation here. And these are pieces that really do fit with Scottie Barnes, you know? But again, the conversation we had earlier is a conversation that needs to continue being had after a loss like this, which wasn't a very competitive loss. And it's one thing to lose when you have like this great, Giannis performance where it's like, oh my God, you couldn't stop him. He had 50 points. He put his team on his back. Like what happened with Nikola Jokic the two times he lost to the Denver Nuggets, where you're like, holy shit, like, the league MVP just went nuts on you. No, this was a pretty tame game by Giannis standards. And I think the Raptors had a lot to do with that. Right. So Ash saying Ochai is nice. Oh, yeah. He's great. Stat for the day. Raptors' current team has the worst defense of all time, giving up an average of 121 points. Coaching should get some flack. Sure, coaching should get a lot of flack. So should intention. So should roster construction. Richard Temple. So Darko is wrong when he said they had a good effort. Effort is not the problem. I will share with you the sage advice of my older cousin when I flamed out. We were in Italy and there was this girl that I thought was very beautiful. I think I was 13 or 14 and very timid and very shy. And he was like, you should go up and talk to her. And so I went up and talked to her and I bombarded her with a lot of details that she didn't need. And I was trying and I was eager and I wanted to make a good impression. And she just kind of lost interest and walked away. And yeah, I think when we're on the drive home, he said something to the effect of, like, oh, don't worry about it, blah, 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 blah. We all get rejections, even though he never got rejected ever in his life. Rob with the Riz. Rob had no Riz. 14-year-old Rob had zero Riz. Current Rob has Riz. But that version of Rob had zero Riz. He was very afraid to talk to girls. And I was just like, okay, I'll try harder next time. And then he said this thing to me that I will never forget. He just said, effort is not the problem. So basically that's the situation right now. Effort is not the problem. You can try to pressure DeLon Wright at the half court mark if you're RJ Barrett. But you have to understand when DeLon Wright decides to go downhill, you don't have the skill to contain him at all. You can try to overstress the defense. This is a gimmick. It doesn't work. Okay. For a full game, you cannot pressure. I don't know if this is a cardio exercise or if Darko Rajakovic secretly supports the Navy SEALs, and this is like the SEALs training program. I have no idea what it is. But ultimately, this is not like you have to look at it if you're a coach and you're like, okay, we're going to try to pressure the basketball. Cool. You don't have the personnel for that. Without Scottie Barnes and with Jakob Poeltl playing as ass as he is defensively, you don't have that. You just can't. Hustle saying the squad already wants to play with Cooper. Cool. Defensive schemes and communication is a problem. Well, you consistently have a point guard who loses his man and is very easy to pick off, gets picked backdoor to death. When you overstress or overpressure the basketball, you obviously leave yourself very vulnerable to blow-bys. Blow-bys will require help. Help requires rotation. Rotation requires communication. It also requires some talent because it's not going to matter if you communicate a rotation to RJ Barrett and he gets there in time and he puts his arm up and it's like, oh, you're not very big, RJ Barrett. It really helps to have players like a Giannis Antetokounmpo or a Scottie Barnes or an Evan Mobley. And I'm not saying Scottie's on the level of those two, but Scottie would help tremendously to shore up some of your defensive issues. Ash saying at least RJ sucking when we are tanking. Siakam didn't show up in the playoffs versus Boston. Yeah, a lot of context that's missing from that accusation. Tariq saying, Rob, should I cut IQ from my fantasy team? He keeps getting injured. I don't know the first thing about fantasy basketball, bro. I got to tell you, I've never participated in a fantasy league. I'm assuming, points and rebounds and assists and three-pointers and all that stuff tabulates, and every single day you get to see how well your players did. And I guess if you pick good players, you do well. I have no idea what the ramifications of cutting a player are, but what I will tell you is like I would like to get away from this notion of like RJ, Immanuel Quickley is injury prone. It's 3 different injuries to 3 different things, and frankly, none of them are connected. A wrist and an elbow and a back. And the back was really not his fault, right? So it's just, I don't know. Daryl saying, let's keep it a buck, everyone. This team wasn't supposed to be good. So far, they've mostly beaten the spread and have made games competitive. This road trip was draining. Today's result was expected. Richard Temple saying, what do you think the main problem is? Love the content. The main problem is you have a 5 who does not shoot the basketball at all. And as of recently, cannot seem to catch the basketball to save his fucking life. Okay. That's one issue. So offensively, it creates a lot of problems because you're already somewhat space challenged and teams are able to go under on all those screens. They don't have to worry about the pick and pop. It makes your offense very predictable, right? So you can continue to cut back door. And yeah, sure, in the beginning it's going to work and it's going to make you, but at some point you're going to have to put the basketball in Grady's hands, and he's going to have to do what he did tonight, which is break down the defense, get a foot in the paint, and look to score. I will also say this, and this is probably my parting note for the night before we get the hell out of here. This team is very passive. Davion is passive. Gradey can be passive at times. They're looking to pass. Right? You got to look to score, man. Like, you say what you will about Chris Boucher, his basketball IQ, his defensive, awareness. Say what you will. He's always looking to score. You got to look to score. Not to the detriment of your team, but you have to be willing to score. How many times does RJ Barrett get into the paint and he's already made up his mind that he is looking to pass the basketball? This needs to be weeded out. You cannot have this situation. Hang on one second. I guess I gotta give me 1 sec. I'll download the post game. It looks pretty depressing, but Gradey spoke to the media for some time, so that's great. Hang on 1 sec. Actually, easier than downloading it. Let me just screen share it. 1 sec. And I'll just take myself off and hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for this. Okay.
Your thoughts on what you kind of saw out there?
Obviously a tough one. We want to go out and win, but felt like we came out with a lot of energy. There's just, it's tough when, every team goes on runs. We just got to figure out, and, talking to the vets, their biggest vices, when we know that they're going to go on a run, but just learn how to kill it quick and get back to ours. So, just keeping that energy contagious is what we need to keep doing.
And then in terms of this road trip, it's been a really rocky road trip, no wins. How do you guys kind of keep the energy positive in the locker room going back to Toronto?
I mean, it's easier said than done, but the biggest thing I feel like is just being resilient. I think that's a big speaking point of, just being willing to bounce back, not letting each other dwell on the losses. Like I said earlier, with the vets, they're a huge part of this team. And, the guys that I talk to the most when I need anything, and I feel like they're, their biggest, advices are that stuff, the resilience and, the season, the length of the season, you got to be resilient. You got to bounce back. And I feel like we haven't really had 2 days in between the games in a minute. So I feel like, you got to be resilient. You can't dwell on those, and you got to have short-term memory and just bounce to the next game.
We got to talk about your career high again. What do you feel like is the driving factor for your career high performances?
I don't know. I always talk about energy. I feel like that's just what I'm going to keep doing. Because with the player that I need to be for this team, I feel like I need to move a lot and have the juice to do that, throughout the whole game. And I feel like when I do that, it kind of opens up the space for other guys. And in return, it helps those guys get to the rim and open up the floor for me. So it's kind of goes both ways. And I feel like the times that I do that, it helps my offensive game. And, I've talked about it in other questions where the more active I am on defense, it kind of pushes me into my offense. So I feel like when I'm more locked in there, it just gives me more of a freedom to feel good offensively.
And then, we've talked about your conditioning in the off season and gaining 13 pounds of muscle. How much do you feel like that is having a direct correlation to the success that you're finding when you're having such great offensive games?
It's huge, especially that, having the energy to run different, possessions where, there hasn't been a timeout for a while and still have the juice to, get up and down the floor where, maybe the defense may be lacking, a little, and that kind of gives you the edge to get, a couple more points for your team. But, I feel like what I did in the offseason has definitely, helped me, gain a step. But at the same time, I'm far from where I want to be. I'm still young and, my body's not at all where it can be. So I feel like just going day by day, keep trying to improve is what my mind's at.
I mean, I really thought that we were fighting and competing for 48 minutes. I thought that turnovers were a big problem for us. Turnovers, we had 14 in the first half and another 7 in the second half. Between that and offensive rebounding, that decided the game. I thought that our half-court defense was really good. I thought that we did a really good job making them miss shots and making them play uncomfortably. And on the offensive end, today our percentages were not good. We were missing a bunch of shots. We had the problem scoring at the rim because of their size. But our fight was there, and the guys competed. I thought as a team that we got better today.
What has been your takeaway from the entire road trip as a whole?
To be honest with you, it's our guys, how they're staying together, how they're cheering for each other. They understand the situation that we're in, that we're undermanned with all the injuries that we're dealing with. And guys are just showing a lot of togetherness and a lot of fight. And I'm really proud of that. We got to continue pounding. We got to take one day at a time, one game at a time, and focusing really on us and our development.
I mean, speaking of development, I feel like every single game almost, we're talking about a new career high for Gradey. So what did you see from him tonight?
He did a really good job in the first half. He scored 22 points in the first half, and it's impressive to see how this group is embracing him in games when he has games like this. Everybody were talking to him, helping him, looking for him. I thought that he was scoring on so many different ways, attacking in pick and rolls with cuts, starting to figure out how to play against top blocks, ball screens. And that's just testament to his work. He's continuing to put a lot of work in and get better.
Bruno Fernando had a bit more of an opportunity today. What did you see from him as well?
Bruno is ultimate professional. Jak picked up 2 fouls early in the game, and Bruno, he stepped on the court right away, and he was able to give us some good minutes there and then to support for Jak.
It's Damien.
My bad. I muted myself. Okay. You saw me playing around with that. My bad. Yeah, as it pertains to Gradey Dick, obviously huge game for him tonight. Really good game. And, you'd like to see him maybe be able to get a little bit more rest so he doesn't burn out in the fourth quarter. He committed a lot of turnovers. I've talked about it many times this year that as you get tired, short jumpers, turnovers will build up. I'm telling you right now, the Raptors need to play a little bit deeper if they're going to continue playing this way. And maybe what they're doing right now could be like remotely effective if they were playing like 11 deep. But there is not a team in the league that can play this hard, this undermanned, and expect to still be able to perform offensively. It's really difficult. Top 5 pick, gonna look great with this core. Yeah, maybe. We got to talk about that at some point. A top 5 pick, you know, it's an infusion of talent, because it is really a talent issue at this point with this team, right? That's pretty much what it is. It's a talent issue. It's a health issue. And look, we walked into the season and we looked at the end of this roster and we were like, wow, there's some issues here, right? There are some issues here. Tariq saying, Rob, what's your NBA Finals prediction? I am predicting if Chet Holmgren comes back, that the OKC Thunder will make the finals and will win the championship over probably the Boston Celtics, but maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers. VJ Edgecombe. Yeah, VJ's great. He's a bucket. He's a highlight reel, and he's a great defender. What's interesting is a lot of the players, I'm noticing a lot of the players at the top of the draft this year aren't one-way players. So it's not like Jalen Greens and, you know, players of that ilk, right? It's not like an Alex Sarr, which is like it's all defense, not a lot of offense. It's really like two-way guys. Cooper's a two-way guy. Aries Bailey has some potential defensively to be like a pretty good defender, but also like a lot of potential as a playmaker that I was noticing in some of his high school tape. VJ Edgecombe clearly has a ton of potential. And Lewis saying Scottie's eye still looks pretty red. He may take more games off. Oh yeah. He is going to take, yeah, like I think they said he'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, that was what they said, right? Or he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, something like that. This could push to a month really easily. It really could. I realize, I think we said initially, let's just take a look at the schedule, because I like to look at the schedule once in a while just to remind ourselves where we are in this situation. Wait, what the hell? What have I lost here? Huh? Okay, here we go. Let's just take a look quickly at the schedule. Yeah, so the Toronto Raptors move to 2-10, sole possession of the bottom of the league. They have a game coming up in 3 days at home against the Detroit Pistons. They'll finally be back home. They'll have 2 days after today to regather themselves and maybe make an internal decision about what they want to do with their season. Do they still want to save it? Do they want to be, you know, a team that is just going to go out and lose every single night? Or are they going to start turning around their season? If the Raptors want to turn around their season, Detroit becomes a must win. You hate to talk in extremes and hyperboles this early into the season, but this is not a hyperbole. This is a must win. This is a team you must catch. This is a team ahead of you. This is a team that is clearly competing for the play-in. And if you want to be a team that is going to compete for the play-in, you're going to have to jump teams like Atlanta. I mean, again, if you look at the Eastern Conference right now, you are 15th. The Bucks may be a play-in team. The Sixers might be a play-in team. The Heat, the Hawks, all of these teams, provided they turn it around at some point, are probably going to be play-in teams. Charlotte might be a play-in team. And then there's the bottom of the East. And it feels to me right now that the Raptors are the only team that's truly at the bottom, because you look at the other teams that are at the bottom right now and it's like Milwaukee, okay, the Sixers. How long are they really going to stay there? They're not going to really stay at the bottom. So it's ironic that the two best general managers, well, two of the three best general managers in the league are the worst teams in the league right now, which is Danny Ainge's Utah Jazz and Masai Ujiri's Toronto Raptors. Is it because these teams have a really good idea of what's available at the next draft? Yeah, probably. Now, look, The Toronto Raptors left their mid-level exception on the ropes. Like they didn't make a trade for it. They signed. They're carrying 5 rookies on their roster, and they're playing 4 of them, rotation minutes every night. Jamison Battle, an undrafted free agent who's had better days and recently has had some terrible days, is continuing to develop, but he's not playing for any other team in the league right now. He's just playing for you. Okay. And again, it started out really promising with these rookies and it was super exciting. But one thing that I will say, and this is really worth noting here, one of the biggest reasons the Raptors have struggled so poorly on the road is you will find that young players and role players typically play better at home. They don't do well on the road. So you have a guy like Jonathan Mobo, he's probably going to be a lot better. If we look at his splits at the end of the season, if we look at most of these players' splits at the end of the season, you're probably going to see like a 7 to 8% jump in their home versus away performances. And it's just home cooking. Home is comfortable. Home is really comfortable. This was the first road trip for a lot of these players. A 5-day road trip, which lasted how many days? The Toronto Raptors started this road trip on October 30th. At Charlotte. Wait, hold on. What? No, that's not true. I apologize. On November 3rd. So they've been away from home for 10 days at this point, right? Right? Yeah, it's November 13th right now. So they've been away from home for 10 days. That's hotels, that's flights. That's just a different adjustment for a lot of young players. Guys like Jonathan Mobo have really struggled on this road trip. Guys like Bruno Fernando have thrived on this road trip. Surprise, surprise. The NBA veterans are doing well. It's also worth noting this $500,000 incentive is really going to make your role players play a lot better. So a guy like Bruno Fernando has something on the line here. A guy like Chris Boucher, maybe a guy like Immanuel Quickley or RJ Barrett who've made buckets of money and are on really big deals. $500,000 not a big deal to them. Jamal Shed, who, as much as I love him, could very, very easily be out of the league in a couple of years. Yeah, $500,000 is a big deal to Jamal Shed. That's like a home for a family member. You know what I mean? That's a down payment. That's like clearing out somebody's mortgage. So these are big deals, right? So you wanna have some appreciation for that. But again, young players struggle on the road. So again, 2 days. You have 2 days to rest and recover from this. Ice your knees, ice your back, get into the cryo chamber or whatever, get some good home cooking, meet up with family, de-stress from this, absorb the fact that you are the worst team in the league, and make a clear decision right now on the rest of your season. Make that decision right now. Decide, we're going to fight every single game, and we realize we are not talented enough that if we are not going to compete, we're not going to get over these screens, we're not going to box out every single time, we're not going to execute on these pick and rolls, we're not going to hold our picks, we're not going to take good shots, we're not going to trust each other, we're not going to win a single game this year. You're going to go 2-80. Okay? Okay, maybe you go 5-77. You play the rest, you play the 72 games left on your schedule as poorly as you play tonight. You'd be lucky to win 7 games this year. Okay, we're talking like Charlotte Bobcats level of abysmal right now. Okay, now I was a lot more optimistic about the Raptors when they were losing the right way, but I do not agree with Darko Rajakovic that there's like a lot to be proud of tonight. I'm sorry, no, there's not. The Milwaukee Bucks were a trash team. They continue to play trash tonight. I refuse to believe that they played any better than they've played through the rest of these losses. They actually played worse tonight, and you lost. Okay, and this was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. That Bobby Portis put in at the buzzer to end the half. Like where was that? What the fuck was that? It's very similar. By the way, end of quarters. How do you close quarters? How do you start quarters? It's very similar to that D'Lo 3 that the Lakers hit to end the second half, right? Or end the first half. And it's just like these backbreaking plays consistently, they build up because at the end of the game, you're in a 10-point game, but you've made 3 boneheaded mistakes that cost you 7 points. RJ Barrett picks up the basketball, starts to go down in transition, and boom, there's a turnover, and then boom, there's an open three. And it's like, that's 3 points. You had the 3 points there, the 2 points there, the 2 points on a missed dunk, and that's 7 points. And okay, cool. Now you're in the game. These runs, right? These runs that other teams get on and how the Raptors have responded to it has not been great. Now, look, I'm going to just be very, very frank about this. You cannot get away in the NBA today playing two non-shooters. You just can't. You just can't. So I don't give a shit if Davion Mitchell goes 1 for 8, 1 for 12. You got to keep shooting them, man. You got to keep shooting them because you're not doing jack shit out there. You're not doing shit for your team out there. And you got to keep, it's funny. Davion Mitchell against Sacramento, I was like cautiously optimistic. I'm like, man, did he turn a corner here? But then you realize, okay, you're not going to have a Domantas Sabonis to attack in the paint every single night. But you gotta attack these guys, man. Davion Mitchell, like, my God, like, you need to be relentless. He's a physical dude. He's strong. He's very strong. He's not a terrible passer. He's okay. He can make the obvious read. He's not an advanced playmaker, but he can make the obvious read. Was that Vin Bavnani, who's the Raptors assistant coach, paint to great? Yes, paint to great. You need paint touches, but you also need to create some motion off of this, man. You can't just be like, it's so simple. Basketball is so simple. It's so funny. You sometimes like really have to stop and admire a guy like Luka Doncic or Scottie Barnes, who picked it up early and just really understands the deeper elements of the game. You think about it and you're like, how difficult is it to race the ball up the court, pitch it into the post for Jakob Poeltl to not drop the basketball, to have a screen, a guard screen that has Gradey coming up top, and at the same time have Ochai cutting back door to allow an option and have Ochai relocate in the corner that he's so goddamn great at. Like, that simple play can create 1 or 2 breakdowns in the defense, especially when Gary Trent Jr. or someone like that is on the court. And maybe from there, you can create something. But the problem right now is when Jakob Poeltl grabs the basketball, he's not looking to score. He's looking to pass. When Davion Mitchell brings the ball up the court, he's not looking to score. He's looking to pass. This is as much a personnel problem as it is a coaching problem. It's across the board. It's a problem. It's a problem that your team does not look to score. It's a problem that your more gifted scorers. I mean, it's Gradey is looking to score. Gradey has figured it out. Ochai is not thinking about, oh, should I pass or should I score? These two have figured it out for sure. You can tell they are spending the time. They are in the gym. They are relentlessly working on their craft. They're doing the film study. You can see these guys are really taking the improvement. It's tough for RJ right now. There's no spacing around. He's attacking set defenses. But if you know that, there has to be a counter to that. You got to move the basketball. You can't be the driver of all offense. Like, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to be physically just exhausted. And you can't be complaining about these calls because, again, and these turnovers are really just, I want to say they're not unforced turnovers, but a lot of them are. A lot of the Raptors unforced, they had live ball turnover after live ball turnover, and it was a lot of unforced errors. Davion Mitchell just can't dribble the basketball, flops it into the backcourt. That's unforced. And momentum is a really big thing in basketball, right? Like, it's deflating when your starting point guard, who's supposed to be organizing your offense, can't even dribble the basketball up the court, or is dribbling the basketball up the court, but then misses the obvious cutter. And how many times the Raptors missed an obvious pass, right? And then when Gradey does make the obvious pass to Jakob Poeltl, who has a guard sealed on a clear turnaround hook shot, Jakob Poeltl grabs the basketball and can't hold on to it. So it's like, maybe it's not that obvious. It's my belief that Davion Mitchell and Jakob Poeltl are like really complicating everything you're doing right now because they're not making the greatest decisions. They're not executing well. They're turning the ball over a lot. They're making a ton of mistakes. And I don't think that either one of them is doing defensively for you what their reputation suggests they're supposed to be doing defensively for you. Because if we're being completely frank, Jakob Poeltl is not on this team to score 20 points per game. He is on this team to stabilize the back end of your defense, and he hasn't done that. And is it completely his fault that all this pressure is creating numerous breakdowns every single possession? And it's like, well, he's not Rudy Gobert. He's not Victor Wembanyama. He's not supposed to be able to do this. Sure. But you can't be making Ivica Zubac look like he's Hakeem Olajuwon either. You need to guard your position at least. When the ball comes down to the opposing big, you need to offer resistance. When Brook Lopez has that shot, you need to put a hand up. Like stuff like this, you know? So it's really frustrating to watch this team play basketball. On the one hand, it's frustrating. On the other hand, how many of you were rooting for a loss tonight? Be honest. Don't lie. Be honest. When the Raptors tied it up 55-55 and the Bucks looked like they were absolutely about to self-implode, how many of you were like, might this cost us Cooper Flag? So maybe there's nothing to complain about. Maybe this is exactly the outcome you wanted. Lance Scott with the moral high ground. I am Dirk saying I was indifferent. Yeah, me too. I've been pretty much indifferent all year so far. And the indifference is largely because I don't think a lot of these players are going to be on my team in a year. I would be very, very, very surprised if Davion Mitchell is on this team a year from now, because Masai Ujiri is not a dumbass. Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster are watching the same goddamn game I'm watching right now. And I'm sorry, it's not like Ochai Agbaji. It's not the same thing as Ochai Agbaji. He's 3 years older than Ochai Agbaji. He's 1 draft year ahead of Ochai Agbaji. And he's had relentless opportunity in a really good system in Sacramento in which players do develop. Players do get better. Players like him have gotten better there. Keon Ellis has gotten better. Keegan Murray got better. Kevin Huerter, sort of. Not really. Players have gotten better there. It's a good system. Mike Brown's a good coach. Jordi Fernandez is a great development coach. He did not get better. So this is not like Ochai Agbaji. You know? Sure. Rob, what would it take to get David Roddy and Larry Nance Jr. in a trade from the Hawks? A lot. I don't even say a lot, but like, why do you want them? The Raptors were really high on David Roddy. Really high on David Roddy. Like at the draft, they were, from what I understood at the time, they were really high on him. Clan Holmes with the super chat, appreciate it. Majority last place didn't get the first overall pick. Well, that's true. That is true. Historically, it has been very, very rare for the team with the worst record to get the first overall pick. It is also exceedingly rare for the team with the worst record to not get a top 3 pick. The Detroit Pistons, the last couple of years notwithstanding, it is very rare. You're playing the odds, man. The way the draft lottery works, the math has really changed. The flattened odds at the top makes everything so different, right? And so, yeah, there's no way to rig. There's no way for a team to assure themselves a top 3 pick anymore. So, the 2003 draft happened again, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's the top 3 pick. You can't just tank your way to the bottom and guarantee yourself a pick because, again, what happened to the Detroit Pistons can happen to you, right? Paradise Lost saying the Pistons winning more than the Raptors. Well, number one, the Pistons are not decimated by injuries. Number two, the Pistons parked their cap space on Tobias fucking Harris. I would not switch places with the Pistons right now. M. Jones saying, is Shed the only true point guard on this team that quarterbacked the Raptors? He's looking to score. I'll give you that. In terms of like an overall, he's not overpassing the basketball. That's what I would say. It's not overpassing the basketball. If you follow us on X, I shared this entire diatribe by Gilbert Arenas in which he talks about like how certain players are just like over passive. And I think he was talking about Bronny James. And he was specifically talking about Bronny James as like this over passive guy, right? And how it makes him like so easy to defend. And Gil was not over passive. He was very aggressive. with the basketball. To those of you who didn't watch Gilbert Arenas / Hibachi play basketball, like this guy never turned down a shot. Like he was just like relentless, fly, fly, fly. Look, man, the point of basketball is to put points on the basketball, put points on the board. That's the point of basketball. Doesn't matter how you do it. You know, if you have a generational talent like Michael Jordan or Luka Doncic, give them the ball, get the hell out of the way. Maybe that's the way your offense has got to flow. But you know, for most teams, it's going to flow a different way, and you're going to have to find openings. But when those openings are created, you got to attack them. You got to attack them the way Gradey attacked it tonight. You got to attack it the way RJ Barrett attacked, you know, the Denver Nuggets, or Scottie Barnes attacked the Denver Nuggets, or the way Gradey and RJ attacked the Lakers in their first meeting. Like, that's what's required. Clean. But the problem is, as again, and I mentioned this earlier, you were ahead of schedule. You were decimated by injuries, yes, but you were ahead of schedule. Teams had a ramp up through training camp. You had been practicing all summer. Teams had to get acclimated to new pieces. Your new pieces had already been working together all summer. So you wanted to get a head start because you had a tough schedule. But now teams are catching up. Teams have a defensive flow. Teams have figured out their rotations. They figured out their playbooks. They're getting more, they're starting to execute a little bit better. So now all that pressure defense that you're applying is not working as much. You're not creating a lot of turnovers at all. In the last game, you created 5 turnovers, 5, which is ridiculous. And tonight, I think you had 1 turnover committed or 2 turnovers committed by the Bucks in like the first half. Like it was an astonishing stat at some point. I don't remember if it was 2, 3, but it was a very small amount. Remember when we were NBA champions? Good times. Yeah, so I created again, if you look at the pinned post on X / you know, like Pensar basketball, there's this clip that I created. I actually edited it. It's set to the Hans Zimmer Time soundtrack. I'm not going to play the Time soundtrack, but I will let you. I'll let you see it. It's kind of funny, actually. Well, it's not really funny. It's more like tragic at this point. But I'm gonna share it with you guys. I'm just gonna mute the music. So if you want to see it with the music, definitely go to. So this is what it's like to be a Raptor fan right now. Yeah. I just have to keep it on mute because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But yes, it's currently playing to the. Jared McCain is awesome. I could do without the finger painting and all that stuff and the TikTok dancing, but that's just me. That's my generation. Yeah. Oak Tree saying train to Busan. Yep. Shout outs to South Korea. Yes, it is. So yeah, that's where we're at right now as Raptor fans. Remembering the good old days. But it's worth noting the good old days started with a 6-12 season. It didn't, however, start with a 2-10 season. So if there's any hopes that the Raptors can pull a We the North Part 2, it is really, really going to have to start like right now. The Raptors have like 2 games to clean this up before the math of 2-12 just becomes so daunting. And now everyone's calling. And now you have to figure out who to trade. And the problem is, as we ran the trade machine, you can see there aren't a lot of trades to be had, right? So unless, of course, you're thinking about parting out pieces that you really value, or even parting out some of your young pieces, or I don't know, parting out future picks, which I don't think I suggest at this point. Like, I'm not really sure what the Raptors' recourse is at this point. Anyways, we need a Kawhi 2.0 Giannis. I think you already have a Kawhi 2.0, which is Scottie Barnes. Scottie's going to be good this year, guys. At some point, he will prove the naysayers wrong. You haven't seen him fully healthy in a while. I assure you, he put in a lot of work this offseason. I just didn't want him to come back to a team that was like 5-16 or something stupid like that, right? Rob, would you trade Scottie for Giannis though? Hell no. Hell no. Not a chance in hell. No, I wouldn't. Did you watch Giannis tonight? He is 30 years old and he is an explosive athlete that is probably one injury away from taking a massive step back. He cannot shoot to save his life. His defensive regression is coming. And honestly, Scottie's my favorite player in the league. So I would never do it. No. But you don't put Giannis on a lottery team. You put Giannis on a contender. There are very few teams that make sense for Giannis. The Miami Heat are not one of them. Maybe the OKC Thunder. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks, if they had the pieces to make it work. Maybe not the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know. Chaim Dirk saying facts, it had to happen, but man, I really didn't like that Gary Trent Jr. trade since day one. I wasn't a big Gary Trent Jr. fan when it happened. AJP with the nice Scottie is special. Scottie is special. I hope you mean it in the way that I think you mean it, but yeah. Bro, if Giannis joins OKC, it's over. Well, they have the picks and they have the contracts probably to make it work. I mean, it would require them to probably, last year would have required them to part with Chet Holmgren. This year, I think it would require them to part with Jalen Williams and Isaiah Hartenstein and probably Alex Caruso and a bunch of picks. I think that's what it would take. And if you're the Bucks, you got to probably part out Dame and Giannis at some point. I feel like our shooting is ramping up and the front office is going to simp for Giannis. Giannis plus what? I don't get it. Dame trade wasn't a success. Yeah. Let that be a cautionary tale to not trade for players who have pretty much made it known to you that they don't want to be there and are coming off a really tough divorce. Right? Gradey and Ochai. Yeah, so Gradey, Ochai, and Giannis gets you where in the Eastern Conference? Gradey, Ochai, even if let's say you did want to part out with Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes makes $10 million this year, so you're gonna have to add so much salary to that to make up for the near $60 million that Giannis makes. So where are you making up that salary? You're gonna make up that salary with Jakob Poeltl and RJ Barrett, or Bruce Brown plus Jakob Poeltl plus Scottie Barnes, some shit like that. And even then, I'm like, okay, maybe that deal gets it done. Okay, now congratulations. You have Immanuel Quickley, Ochai Agbaji, Immanuel Quickley, Gradey Dick, Ochai Agbaji, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and no center. Congratulations. You're cooked. You're nowhere in the East. You're not beating the Knicks. You're not beating the Celtics. You're not beating the Cavs. Who are you beating? M. Jones saying, Rob, thoughts on what Gradey will be averaging come end of the season? 16 points per game. Maybe 17 points per game. I don't know. I didn't really like his fit in the offense when Immanuel Quickley was in the game and they came back and I feel like he wasn't as involved. But really at this point, him and Ochai are the saving grace of this season for me. I made it pretty known my thoughts last night when I said Ochai Agbaji has pretty much been your best player. It's been him and Gradey, oscillating between him and Gradey every single night. Those are your best players this season. They've been your best players all season. They are putting in the work. It is clear that all the work that they put in the offseason is really paying off. And to me, they're future staples of this team going forward. Who else wants to join them? Jonathan Mobo, step your game up. Jamal Shed, step your game up. Ja'Kobe Walter, get healthy. Ulrich Chomche, he is parked for me. Ulrich is he's got a guaranteed spot on this roster for the next 5 years. I need to see that project through, right? So there's a lot of growing pains right now, but it doesn't seem like everyone is freaking out that the Sixers are. I mean, some people are freaking out that the Sixers are 2-8 or whatever the hell they are, but a lot of people aren't. And that team is really struggling. And I'm sorry, am I wrong? Or was I told that Nick Nurse was a top 5 coach in the league when this season started and he was going to take them to the mountaintop? Well, he has Paul George. He had Paul George tonight and he had Joel Embiid and he lost. Right? So winning is hard in the NBA. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't really believe in what the Raptors are doing on the court, but I really believe in what they're doing off the court. And I just can't wait for there to be a clear direction. I feel that kind of nervous feeling in my heart where I'm like, man, if the Raptors get healthy, they could totally pull 10 out of 15 games, and start winning. And at that point, I'm going to hear Darko Rajakovic saying, like, it's good for our development. It's good for our development. And it's like, we don't want to tank and we're being blah, blah, blah. But it's like, you appreciate that. But at the end of the rainbow, there has to be a play-in tournament. There has to be a team that is like succeeding and has a chance, right? And again, I'm not saying that mathematically you're out of it right now. You're definitely not. You've had a tough schedule. The majority of your losses came against the West, which is good. You don't want to lose too many games against the East, though. And you just lost one tonight, and you lost one in Charlotte. And if you continue doing this, you're going to lose one in Detroit. And again, the Raptors have been good for a while, right? They're a team that is, I don't want to say respected by a lot of people right now, but they're a team that, a lot of teams remember losing to a lot. The Raptors had a 48 win season just 2 years ago. So they had 41 win season just 1 year ago. And last year, apart from the abysmalness of it, I feel like every player in the league remembers losing to the Raptors in recent memory. And so, it's maybe a little bit of payback, right? Hanbo Liu saying tanking like Detroit will only get us the 5th pick. Hanbo Liu, did you fail math? Having the best odds at the number 1 pick will not always get you the 5th overall pick. Just because it happened for one team doesn't mean it happens for all teams, right? Yeah, there's a chance. There's a really good chance you end up with the 5th pick. There's also, you have a better chance at the 1st overall pick than most teams. I mean, the way the draft lottery is working out, technically the team that has the best shot at the 1st pick is not the team with the worst odds. It's actually the top 3 teams with the worst odds. I mean, do we need to show this? Like, hold on. Tankathon odds. Man, I'm going to have a hell of a time putting together the timestamps for this video, because would y'all mind if I just don't do timestamps for this video? If I just be super lazy? Okay. Here, one sec. Wait, what the hell's going on here? Sorry. Share screen. Tankathon. Here we go. Okay. So, as you can see, the odds for the first 3 teams are 14%, 14%, 14%. The way the lottery is done is those 3 teams, which right now, and you will see, I don't know if you need to see this, but I'm going to just, God, all the ads. Okay. I'm just going to, boom, 5th. Yeah, you're right. 3rd, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd. You see what I mean? But if I change the odds, 5th. So yes, your most likely outcome is 5th, right? But it's worth noting that the most likely outcome for this team is probably 6th, 7th, right? Like, so you, hang on. Pick odds. Here we go. Take a look at this. This will explain it. So the Toronto Raptors, so this average right here, this number, if you can see me, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this right here, this final number, that's your average. That is the average of the picks. So if you end up with the 2nd worst record, you have a chance. So basically what happens, to explain this to people, is this 47.9%, if you're the worst team in the league, is 100% concentrated with the 5th overall pick. So if you don't understand math, just tune out. If you can at least try to understand math, hear me out on this. So if you have the second worst odds, your 47.8 pretty much gets split between picks 5 and 6. And if you have the third worst odds, your 47.6 pretty much gets split between, sorry, if you have the third worst odds, your 47.9 pretty much gets split across 3 picks. So you're not better off being the 4th worst team. You're not. You're just spreading your odds into more places. So the Raptors with the worst pick, like the worst odds in the league, would have like a 14% chance at the first overall pick, the 13.4% chance at the second overall pick, and the 12.7% chance at the third overall pick, and the 12% chance at the fourth overall pick. And you could say, well, the first, second, and third teams have the exact same odds. Correct. But what the Raptors would assure themselves is a top 5 pick. You just have to look at the odds, man. So if you're trying to measure this out, the worst team in the league, the worst record in the league, has a guaranteed basement of the 5th overall pick, and the average pick is 3.7. Now, if you go back 20 years ago, the average pick was probably closer to like 2.1. And that's what the NBA has done. They have flattened the odds. So what have they really flattened? That means that all you get for being the worst team versus a second worst team. Let's just compare those two outcomes. Let's say who's better off right now, the Toronto Raptors or the Utah Jazz. Both teams have 2 wins, but the Raptors have accelerated on the losses. They have 10 losses. So what is the difference in the odd structure of those 2 teams? Okay, to point it very simply, 2 things. Number 1 is the average pick that the Raptors would be getting would be a 3.7. Okay, if you want to round it, that's the 4th overall pick. The Utah Jazz, their average pick is 3.9. You think 0.2 is not a big difference, and the NBA's goal has succeeded. However, what you assure yourself is that you can't have the 6th overall pick. The Utah Jazz can have the 6th overall pick because the Utah Jazz and the Toronto Raptors, in this case, would share one thing in common. They both have the highest percentage chance of getting the 5th overall pick, right? However, only one of those teams has a second highest probability of getting the 6th overall pick because the Raptors' second highest probability is the 1st overall pick, whereas the Utah Jazz's 3rd highest probability is the 1st overall pick. And it's the same thing with the Philadelphia 76ers, where their best odds are 14th, are 6th. Their second best odds are 5th. Their third best odds are 1st. So again, it flattens out the odds a bit, but it doesn't change the math that you actually have the best odds of getting the 1st overall pick if you have the worst record. It still incentivizes tanking. It just completely de-incentivizes gutting your roster and trying to be a 7-win team, because the cost benefit and the ultimate prize is basically you have a 0.2 odds structure. Does that make sense? I hope to God that has been informative, because the number of people that I have listened to absolutely butcher this is insane. Okay. There we go. Johnny A saying, come on, Malawak is a Masai pick. Just give us a top 5 pick and we can do some damage and pick it instead. Sure. And you can also trade it if that is what you end up doing. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. 2.5 hours to discuss this game. Half of it was just me crashing out. I mean, we got to talk about the prospects at some point. There's 2 games. There's 2 days off between games. My girlfriend is currently in Nicaragua right now, so I am very much looking forward to trying to get my life back together. I have not been doing super well in life in general right now. I feel like I'm kind of burning it on both ends. I got to get ready with pen dance. I'm kind of neglecting my responsibilities to the festival. So, I definitely got to do that. And I'm on the panel on Thursday. So those of you who tune in and watch us on the panel, I'll be on Thursday. I'm not on tomorrow. Johnny A saying W, cool guy. So I'm going to watch it. Was watching the Warriors game. Sleep well, Rob. Talk to you guys later. I am definitely not sleeping, but I gotta do some editing work. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Make sure to like the stream on the way out. Really helps us out a lot. Doesn't cost you a dime. Oh, and also big thank you. Hold on. Can't believe I forgot about this. A big thank you to Greg and to Stacy for your very generous e-transfers last night. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah. Lance, if you ever need a volunteer, hit me up. Volunteer for what? The film festival? Yeah. Appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. And tough loss. Wipe this away. Hopefully get healthy. You know, we'll see. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for Immanual Quickley, but if you do want to hear more about the Immanual Quickley injury, definitely check the previous live. We broke it down in pretty good detail. Talk to you guys later. Bye.